Afternoon, folks. We are going to be doing a pair of videos in this one. They act as kind of a complementary entry deal where we are chatting about two very different approaches to the same concept. In this case, it is a historical character being reborn into a future setting. Now, for those of you who have already watched both of these videos, one of which came out fairly recently. This might be the most topical live stream we've done so far. Functionally, there's two approaches that, well, there's three really. One is they just get a memory download, where they just get the memories of the past incarnation's life and just go from there. We also have the person who is just simply possesses the body of the person that they're reborn as we see in the second video. Or in the case of the first one, which I personally like a little bit better for different reasons, is the ability to compare and contrast the two individuals, where you get to explore more of their worldview through dialogue between the two, and you kind of get a little bit more funny bits of characters bouncing off of each other. And so I was like, that's why I wanted to say, you know what, let's kind of let's have some fun here. So that was my thought, at least. So we're going to do the Aegon the Conqueror one first, since that was the first one I ever wrote. When I was thinking about this, I was just like, I really want to do Jon on an Aegon as a buddy cop duo, where Aegon is stuck inside Jon's head, kind of like Luthor and Telamon, and I'm just like, oh, there's so many funny opportunities we could have here, especially since Aegon the Conqueror is kind of a boring enigma in a lot of ways. That might seem like a contradiction in terms, but Aegon the Conqueror really doesn't have a personality. He's just kind of dude with dragon, and there's very little elaboration. He's a fairly effective administrator, but he's a terribly limited military instrument, and he's just kind of a dude who happens to have two sisters, one of which she is sexually attracted to, which is weird in and of itself. But then we have, and then he married Visenya for duty. There's a theory that Visenya and Rhaenys were in a lesbian relationship. Which probably. But yeah, that's kind of that was my thought process with writing this. Was I wanted to have Aegon and Jon be this buddy cop duo where Jon is just miserable with Aegon in his head, and we get so many funny scenes with that. But yeah, let's get started, shall we?
Let's explore the depths of it in the video. If you enjoy deep dives into Harry Potter or Star Wars, check out our sister channels, Half-Blood Theorist and Darth Theorist. Links are in the description. Aegon the Conqueror stands over the painted table, his grandsons, Aegon and Viserys, beside them. Maegor stands close to them like a looming shadow, purple eyes, impassive. Aegon is enjoying telling stories of the conquest to the young boys, and equally eager to hear.
And here was the fire field, where I, Visenya, and your grandmother, Rhaenys, broke the might of High Garden and Casterly Rock in a single battle. But I did not destroy them utterly. Remember this lesson, my boys. Always let your enemy kneel to you. Senseless killing serves no one. It is the duty of a good king to be magnanimous and kind to his vassals. Now
His hand spasms, and his legs give out as he drops to the ground. The two boys run to him and start shaking him, while Maegor yells for a maester. Aegon coughs and tries to move, but something is wrong. He knows he's going to die. He just wishes that his grandsons didn't have to watch. Oblivion takes him. When he awakens, he's immobilized as if he were tied up. He tries to talk, but he realizes with horror that he's in the body of a newborn babe. He hears a voice saying, "Promise me, Ned." And then he sees him, a man that looked like his old friend Torrhen Stark looking down at him.
Jon's good name. How about that?
Aegon tries to move his arms, do anything, but nothing works. Screaming, he retreats into the recesses of whatever hell he's trapped in. 10-year-old Jon Snow walks through the halls of Winter.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of set up, I wanted to have the moment of Aegon's death, since one of the things I like doing with a lot of these Reborn episodes is have the moment of their death as the point of transfer. And with Rhaenyra Reborn that's coming out soon, one of the things I wanted to do was put the iconic moment of when she dies from the book on screen, because I know they're going to butcher it in the show. Yeah, probably got bigger and more epic. First time he killed an entire army. Good. Bernie's with Agamon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think he didn't really kill the entire army. He killed a very small percentage. He only killed about 4% of the army, and then the rest just like, nope, we ain't doing this. Surrender, 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 surrender now. And ultimately, what I wanted to do here was just kind of establish Aegon at the moment of his death, and then have also kind of get away from the adult man trapped in the body of a child, which has weird things. And I do kind of have it a little bit mentioned a little bit in Daemon, because you kind of have a body that's, or at least a brain that's already been through puberty, going into the brain of a kid. Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, aside from Harrenhal and Dorne, he doesn't really do anything in the Field of Fire. The Field of Fire is an odd one because it's like 4,000 men out of what, 1,000? But yeah, I think that it's interesting. It's just going to be weird. Yeah, shockingly low casualty count. Yeah, since we got 100,000 man army, and only 4,000 die. Yeah, did I have to go through puberty twice to live through frozen fish? Yeah, I honestly felt like Damon would be incredibly chauvinistic toward Kat, especially since he'd be like, oh, she doesn't like me? Okay, fine, I don't like you either, and I'm going to be an awful, awful person to you and insult you in front of anybody who cares, which I think is very funny. I honestly am just like, yeah, it's kind of one of those opportunities where it's just like, all right, writing a no filter character is kind of fun. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just kind of Damon's like, I have all of these feelings, but I can't act on them. Dang it. And also he's probably, I imagine he would probably kind of be looking at Sansa with a purdy eye, but I was like, nope, not putting that in there. Nope. Since he's really gross like that. Damon's so insufferable that it grates. Yeah, it's one of those things where he was just having him being able to write him when he's just kind of like, this dude has no filter and he's kind of an asshole, is just kind of fun. Getting back to Aegon as Jon, I just kind of, it starts off with him just kind of having bleed over, and then and then him and Aegon actually start having conversations. It's similar-ish to how in Wheel of Time Robert Jordan had Lews and Telemon's memories blend into Jon's. And then he becomes a full-fledged Edgepoint. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It is designed to be really creepy. It's definitely designed to be creepy. And my thought was, dude would totally do this. He's that kind of creepy person. And he would be like, Daenerys is in the age range that he finds attractive, or at least somewhat. At least like she's the phenotype of woman that he finds attractive, which is basically they look Valyrian. And that's kind of his personal preference, since he's a weird eugenicist racist guy. And yeah, he wouldn't go parent-child. No, I don't think he would go Craster levels. I think it's just he would be thinking, yeah, it's like, must be for the good. It's for the good of the realm. She's the last Targaryen. I need her. And yeah, he would. But I do think that there would be kind of a weird Lolita situation going on there. Because even though his body is different, it's still like his brain is weird. But yeah, Daemon's one of those messed up people. This might be the Daemon Reborn as Jon Snow might be slightly grosser than the Daemon Reborn just as himself. But yeah, there's some messed up stuff going on.
Well, a jumbled mess of memories clouds his head. They had mixed with his own ever since he was young. He saw visions and images, conversations, both in his dreams and while he's awake. Sometimes things would slip out, words he didn't know spring into his mind, thinking people had different names because in his memories they were associated with others. Memories of a life he couldn't have lived to try to overwhelm him, flying atop a gigantic black dragon, destroying armies and castles like a child's playthings, sparring with a sternly beautiful silver-haired woman, kissing another.
Gene's half from his brother and half from his cousin, and went, give me. That's funny. Well, there's rumors that, yeah, I get, there's actually the theory that, Felina Stokeworth brought her daughter there, and that she was Aegon II's daughter, and he still had sex with her and her mom in threesomes, which might have happened. Price extent of incest, since yeah, it's definitely descendant and descendant ancestor incest. But it's kind of incestuous in a similar fashion to Zeus and Alcmene, since Alcmene is the granddaughter. Applied. I mean, it was cousin to me. Yeah, assuming it's true. Yeah. But it's kind of a similar thing to Alcmene, since Alcmene and Zeus, because she's I think the granddaughter of Perseus or something like that, and Zeus is like, yes. And it's just like Zeus, you freaking disgusting pervert. Zeus is the worst thing. Is one of the worst things ever. Honestly. It's so gross when you think
More
about
soft-featured lady, and worst of all, his own death while his grandsons watched. Shaking, Jon finds Robb for their game. They call out the names of their heroes, until Jon blurts out he was Aegon the Conqueror. Immediately, a flood of memories crashes into him, causing him to drop to his knees, burning a giant army with his black dragon. Seeing Rhaenys' body, holding his son in his arms, Ned runs over to Jon and helps him up.
It's all right, Jon.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be all right.
Oh, yeah, the whole Aemond and... oh, yeah, Aemond and Alicent. That scene is so weird. It's like, starts freaking out. It's like, oh, you're not my mom? Oh, I need to, actually. You're not my mom? I'm not attracted to you. It's so weird.
Thorin, is that you?
No, I'm your father, Ned Stark. Are you all right?
Sorry, father. I forgot myself for a moment. I don't know what happened.
Let's get you to Master Luwin, Jon.
He almost said that it wasn't his name, that he was Aegon, but stops so Maester Luwin can examine him. After cursory examination, he's sent to bed. That night, Jon dreams of sitting in a garden next to the soft-featured girl. A name echoes through his mind, Rhaenys. Smiling, she strokes his face and kisses him. Jon holds her in his arms, not wanting to let her go. Then the dream shifts, and he's looking into a mirror, and it's not his own face looking back at him. His reflection had silver hair and purple eyes. He was tall and strong. He looked like a king. Then he's beside a dark-haired man at a large table carved like Westeros, looking down at a case with a pair of severed hands inside. On the lid was written, "These are the only hands your bastard will ever have of me." Jon screams and claws his way out of sleep, looking down at himself, trying to figure out what was real and what wasn't. Ned rushes in, sword drawn, but when he sees that Jon is all right, he sheathes the weapon. Rubbing his eyes, he sits next to Jon and puts his hand on his shoulder.
It was just a nightmare, Jon. It wasn't real.
But Thorin, father, it felt so real.
Why do you keep calling me Thorin, Jon? Are you all right? What's going on?
I'm seeing things I can't have ever experienced. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going insane.
When you're awake, too.
Jon nods, and Ned takes a long breath. He'd heard about Targaryen madness, but he'd hoped Jon wasn't affected. Maybe he could help the lad.
Tell me about what you see. I want to help.
Jon spells out everything, and as he does, Ned starts to get more and more worried. After he puts Jon to bed and tells him to keep this between them, Ned walks to the library and pulls a copy of Fire and Blood from the shelf. After placing the book on a table, Ned reads through the first few chapters. It's as he thought. Jon described many of Aegon the Conqueror's specific pivotal events as if he were seeing them through his ancestors' eyes. When
Yeah, with this, I wanted to just have a bit where he is having bleed over and he's just seeing people from his past and he's just associating people. I also wanted to include some of the more interesting historical moments from the conquest, since we have a since a lot of people aren't familiar with a lot of the interesting bits, like these are the only hands your bastard will have on me, I wanted to include that quote because that's such a good line. I also wanted to just kind of include some of his earlier life. Was it Hubert Baldwin's? The Daemon one or the Aegon the Conqueror one? Because I think it was definitely me. Boba has no input on the writing of the episodes, much as he would like that to be very different. But yeah. No, let's just say it was me who put the crack in his weirwood paste. Yeah, it's definitely me putting the, since functionally with a lot of these I'm Bran, just kind of throwing it in, seeing what happens. And I also want to have Ned be fairly competent in this, where he's saying, okay, something weird is going on. And then we also have a chance for Catelyn to be fairly smart, since Catelyn is actually very smart. It's just that people hate her because they identify so much with Jon, and they just are like, no, we hate Catelyn. Preston Jacobs assumes it's misogyny. I think it's more just they have empathy for Jon more than anything else. Since Catelyn's kind of the smartest person in A Song of Ice and Fire until her death.
and finds him reading the book, she's confused.
Ned, are you all right?
No, I'm all right. I just couldn't sleep.
You went to see Jon. He had some sort of nightmare.
Yes, he did. What of it? Can't a man comfort the child who's scared?
I just think this is odd.
Christ.
You're reading a book on Targaryen history right after Jon.
Ned's blood runs cold as a sudden realization seems to hit her. Before she can say anything, Ned closes the book and ushers her to a more secluded area.
Ned, is Jon a Targaryen bastard? Was his mother some dragon seed? Is that why you're so secretive about him?
Jon is my blood, Cat. Do not ask about him.
No. You gave me that same sort of vague answer before, and I will not have it anymore. Who is he? I will not allow his presence to endanger Robb's claim to Winterfell.
I suppose I need someone to talk to about this. Jon is not my son. His father was Prince Rhaegar. I took him in because I couldn't risk my little sister's boy being butchered like his siblings.
Ned, I'm so sorry. So what's wrong with him?
For answer, Ned hands the book to her, then opens it to the section.
Yeah, so yeah, she's trying to do it as much as she can with the little advantages she has. And with this, what I wanted to make the kind of just have her figure out, because I think that she would figure, with the two context clues that she had, she would be able to figure it out. That say at least the fact that he has Targaryen blood, and there is, and Ned would be like, all right, fine, I'll tell you, just keep it quiet, don't tell anybody. And she wouldn't be warm to it, definitely, but she would at least be like, and I think her first thought would be, I don't want to endanger my son's claim to Winterfell, because that's functionally why she hates Jon in the book. She's worried that he'll be like Daemon Blackfire. And yeah, and make it even worse. Yeah, it kind of just as well as just the fact that I think one of the things I'm going to start doing is I'm not going to have Rhaegar marry Lyanna. I think I'm just going to, in the future, I'm just going to have Rhaegar just it be a bastard, honestly. since it still keeps him the same, but it makes it so that his personality doesn't change. It's just that he has to deal with a different kind of angst. Yeah, it is kind of sad. Though there's sex in Game of Thrones, the first book, she's clearly not enjoying it. Like, she's clearly not into it. I guess Ned's just Jon being a black bastard, where there is no secret marriage. I'm just gonna probably just gonna have to put that in, where they're just he's still a bastard. He's not really in line for the throne. Like, his line is way behind Dany, but yeah.
On the conquest and explains what had gone on. Kat asks if he might be mad, but Ned shakes his head and tells her that it's more likely dragon dreams. Either way, Kat agrees to keep an eye on him and determines to be kinder to the boy. When Jon eventually starts learning about the history of the realm, specifically Aegon, he's surprised when he hears an almost one-to-one description of his visions. Finally, Luwin reaches the end of the First Dornish War.
After years of fighting, Princess Styria Martell came to King's Landing. Aegon received her with all due courtesy, despite the urgings of his council to either sell her to a brothel or send her back without a hand. The war might have dragged on, until Daria produced a letter and handed it to Aegon. Whatever was in that letter so profoundly affected the king that he squeezed it so tightly, blood came from his hand. We'll never know.
It was a letter saying they brought Rhaenys' body back to Dragonstone as a gesture of peace.
Luwin pauses and stares at the boy. Jon shifts.
Yeah, so here there are so many theories of what they did, and I do reread that whole section and just inserted it in here. But I wanted to, and even put some of the other theories that are presented in Fire and Blood. I think that she would be approving. If it's a legitimate son, that's a bad thing for her claim, especially if one of the things that I like doing actually is making so that Aegon is actually kind of frail. He is not actually physically imposing, and I actually prefer having that be part of Aegon's character. When I make him as an actual person in a theories, I actually prefer making Aegon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar, actually kind of frail. Kind of going off of his mom being a little bit frail. And because it allows him to have something to overcome. It's kind of why I liked having Balon be kind of be kind of frail, because there would be a type of frailty going on, and it's why since we are doing a Jon Reborn in House of the Dragon, but I decided to make him Sarah Targaryen's bastard as opposed to Balon as I was originally planning, because it allows him. Oh. I have never heard that theory, but that actually would make a whole lot of sense. It would not be beneath Tywin. I actually wouldn't. Yeah. Which is why when in the Balon, I did kind of focus a little bit more on Malkaris and Laena and make them dual characters, since I was like, what can I really do with Balon? Especially since he's not going to get married. I'm like, what is going to go on here? And I was just like, I did not know what to do with the conflict in that one. So I just had to kind of wing it, really. And just kind of just said, all right, let's just do King Arthur, Mordred, Mist of Avalon type deal. And just do that. And that'll be our conflict. And I was like, all right, that's fine. We'll do that. But yeah, it means I have to sharpen his mind instead. And I did wanted to put that in where he's a very smart, where Aegon in the Elia and Ned episode, he's a smart kid, but he's not physically. Yeah, I think he probably should have given the crown to. They should just let Jon do it. I think that's a good point. Still want to, yeah. There's kind of always little bits I could improve. I would agree. But with this one, I just kind of went with my personal favorite theory of they gave Rhaenys' body, mangled body, back as a gesture of goodwill. And I was like, that actually makes the most sense, because if the other theories kind of don't make sense, if he just went to Dragonstone and came back, never talked about it. And so this is kind of the theory that I personally like, but they will present the other ones.
Uncomfortably, the exact moment playing in his head as if he were there, then flying on Valerian to see his wife and put her to rest.
Jon, how do you know that?
I read it somewhere. My father has a bunch of old books on Targaryens.
Jon, that's seen none of the history. No one really knows, but the major theories are that they had threatened to send a faceless man after his son, Aenys, a plea from one father to another, a list of those who had died, and some more arcanely inclined suggest that Miriam Martell wrote him a letter written in Queen Rhaenys' blood, and bound with sorceries that he would be powerless to resist.
He loved Rhaenys, and it was the only way he would ever stop. If they threatened his family, he would destroy them, root and stem, just like Harry the Black.
How would you have known that? Have you been reading ahead? If so, I'm very impressed that you have been able.
Yeah, so those are kind of all of the other theories. Really interesting. That is actually my very first one, funnily. That was the first one I ever wrote. Aegon is a shocking bad liar. Yeah, he kind of is. I think it's more Jon is a bad liar, since Jon's not a good liar. Okay, what did you... So, like, what were the things you liked about Robert Independence and Ned Reborn? Run me through why you liked it. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's Jon is, like, trying not to sound like he's crazy. And it's kind of functionally he is.
To get through Fire and Blood, it's a rather dense book with vocabulary quite a bit above what I've been teaching you.
Jon looks away, not wanting to tell Luwin about his visions. Instead, he looks down and starts fiddling with his pen. Luwin frowns, but continues with the lecture. After they finish, Luwin has Jon stay behind to give him a book.
I think you would find Fire and Blood interesting, Jon. If there are any words you're unfamiliar with, write them down.
The rest of the night, he reads about Aegon's conquest. The further he gets, the more similarities he finds with what he dreamed, but there were differences, and they didn't capture what it felt like during certain events. They didn't talk about how exciting it was to destroy Harren the Black, how it had felt to have the River Lords rise up and accept him as their king, his relationship with Visenya and Rhaenys. Jon shakes his head and closes the book, placing it next to his bed. The years pass, and the dreams intensify. Trying to get away from them, he keeps on training with Robb and Maester Luwin, eagerly devouring the history of the realm. One day, as Jon is walking through the Godswood, he hears it, a voice in his head.
Who are you, boy? Why am I trapped inside your mind?
Jon clutches at his head and looks around.
Yeah. He's a slower fighter. Ian Fresha, he didn't... Yeah, he should have instituted more continental laws. The only thing he really institutes is the King's Peace. It's pretty much it. I would definitely agree. Visenya is much more talented as a fighter than Aegon the First is. And I did have to kind of he is kind of basic, which is why I was like, all right, let's just have him bounce off of Jon Snow and have Jon be worried about just have to deal with having an annoying voice in his head saying, we need to be king, we need to be king. It's like, shut up, I hate you. And so that's why I was like, all right, let's keep doing that. And this also having this bit of, a voice in my head. Yeah, and that was kind of just I just wanted to have that moment where he's just like,
Then runs to the pool. When he does, it's not his face he sees. It's a man with silver hair, his face clean shaven, and his purple eyes looking at Jon with an intense expression. Jon smacks the water, trying to make the false image go away, to no avail. The reflection starts moving independently from Jon, arms folded, looking up at him. Jon stares at the strange man, who starts talking.
You're rightly agitated,
Yeah.
but get the hell out of my head, whoever you are. If I could get out of your head, I would have done so a long time ago. However, I am trapped here with you. Anyway, to continue, I am Aegon Targaryen, first of my name, and I believe you are Jon. I was in your mind at the moment of your birth.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to do is kind of keep each piece, check in with everybody, include as much as I could within the theory, as well as alternate between all of the pieces, and then keep bringing stuff like the Night's King, that sort of thing, and the Corpse Queen. Before I ask you, if it's a side note, right? Yeah, it's Valerian basically just breaks the game, I think, is the big thing. Same and with Maegor, spoken like a true tyrant. Yeah, that's kind of the accurate one. Yeah, and I did at least kind of put it in that Aegon very much feels like he is the right person for the job, and he's at least better than Robert. Let's say that, but not very much else.
But the shock of being in your head forced me to retreat, at least until now. I've gone mad. I'm clearly insane. No, if you were insane, you wouldn't recognize it. This is going to be difficult. Very difficult, Jon. I have a few questions for you. I haven't really tried to interact with you or the world. What year is it? Almost 300 years after you were crowned? So long. What has happened? Do my descendants still rule? No. Robert Baratheon rebelled against Aerys the Mad King and overthrew him after killing his son Rhaegar. Tywin Lannister killed Elia and her children with the prince, and now his daughter is queen. The only Targaryens that live are the Mad King's 2 children who fled to Essos.
The Reflection's eyes widen in horror as Jon lays out the events of Robert's rebellion. Looking broken, the ghost of the Conqueror turns away from Jon, a tear trickling down his face. Then he vanishes. Jon breathes out a sigh of relief, then walks back to the castle to find something to drink. He wanted to forget what had just happened very badly. The next day, when Lewin has him at a lecture about the failings of Targaryen kings.
Here comes one of my favorite bits to write, where he just goes, is at least somewhat understandable excuse for the long night. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, so with this one, yeah, there was. I knew that I wanted to have some bits in here where Aegon crashes out at the fate of his family, and so I was just like, "Oh, I gotta put this in. This is, yeah, definitely better dead than the Emperor in 40K. The Emperor in 40K is an asshole, really awful person." And yeah, with this, I was figuring, okay, let's just not have him be able to remember anything about what Jon is being taught. Yeah, this bit was pure comedy where Aegon just crashes out. And
Jon starts to hear Aegon muttering in his head about the damn maester getting things wrong about his life. Then Lewin's...
Yeah, I kind of considered putting that in as a line, but I just thought him just saying, "This damn maester is getting things wrong about my life. If I need to correct him." And Jon is like, "No."
Starts talking about Aenys and Maegor. As Lewin describes the Faith Militant uprising, Aegon seems to grow more and more horrified. Then he explodes.
Maegor did what to my grandsons? And the Faith did what to my boy?
Jon flinches and grits his teeth, trying to push down the voice in his head, but Aegon continued to rant. Lewin gives him a concerned look, and Jon tries to regain control of himself, but the voice keeps on raving.
Jon, is something wrong? I'm fine. A bug bit me on the neck. Very painful. They murdered my son. I'll kill them all. You're too late. They're already dead. Now shut up.
Aegon retreats into the recesses of Jon's mind. For a while, Jon thinks that this lecture will pass with
Yeah, I like the bit where... Yeah, I didn't get to do that. I kind of wish I'd been able to, but didn't get to, because Tywin and King Lauren are very different people. I think he definitely would, because Lauren Lannister doesn't seem like he's a bad guy. He seems like he's able to see, all right, he's not as ambitious and seems to fade to the background. He just kind of seems like he's just a guy, really. But yeah, I didn't really have time to include that. And he didn't really get to have a confrontation with Tywin. Might have been cool, but he basically just turns Tywin into Harren the Black 2.0. And so that's kind of was my thought, at least. But in terms of this bit, it's just basically Aegon gets to find out, and it's just meant to be really funny. It's sad too, but it's also really funny.
Peace, and then Lewin starts describing the Dance of Dragons. This explosion was even more violent than the last one.
What? No! They killed all the dragons in civil war. Damn them all, imbeciles! All my work, all my effort, pissed away like it was nothing.
Shut up.
I will not shut up. They ruined everything. 18 dragons. And by the end, they were all dead.
Shut up. Jon, are you all right? You look like you're having a seizure. I feel sick. Can I have a moment? Just let me get through the regions of Aegon the Unworthy and Aerys the Mad.
Jon groans and braces himself. This was going to be painful. He was right. When he hears about...
Yeah, yeah, this bit was great because Tywin, because yeah, he's just pissed at this whole situation, where it's just, are you all stupid? What did you do? And Jon is kind of brave. Yeah, he'd love Maekar and Stannis. Yeah, they're very similar people. But Jon is like, oh no, this is gonna be bad. when since he probably knows a little bit, this is just a refresher, and he's just like, oh no, this is going to be painful. He's just bracing himself. And I just like the bit of, this was going to be painful.
Aegon the Unworthy and Daenerys the Mad.
Jon groans and braces himself. This was going to be painful. He was right. When he hears about Aegon the Unworthy and the Blackfire rebellions that follow, Aegon starts raving again, mainly about Aegon the Unworthy lacking discipline and keeping his appetites under control. Then, with the Mad King, Aegon actually starts swearing in fury at the stupidity of his descendants, giving the throne to the Baratheons on a silver platter. After the lecture is finished, Jon finds a quiet spot to be alone. Aegon was muttering in his head, clearly furious at the follies of his descendants.
How could they be so stupid? Rhaenyra and Aegon destroying the dragons, Aegon the Unworthy leading a series of rebellions, and Aerys turning the whole realm against him. Fucking idiots. What's done is done. It's over. The Targaryen dynasty's dead. I'm going to restore my house, my family. You talked about 2 of Aerys' children surviving beyond the Narrow Sea. We have to find them and bring them home. No, we're not. I'm going to find some place where I can learn to ignore you and live something resembling a peaceful life. Maybe the Citadel. No, you wouldn't dare. If you keep on ranting in my head, I will. Now shut up.
For once, Aegon complies. Jon breathes a sigh of relief and rubs his eyes. He needs to get drunk. Really, really drunk. After drinking himself into a near incoherence, he doesn't have the ability to return home. Instead, he gets a room in a Wintertown inn and collapses. When the morning comes, his head feels like it's been cracked like an egg.
Oh, God, that really hurts. I immediately regret this decision. I could have warned you. Oh, great. You're still here. Like it or not, we're stuck together, Jon. Though why I'm stuck in your head is a mystery. Why you and not Viserys? No idea.
Yeah, but this I just my thought was, let's just kind of milk the since one of the things about comedy usually is that comedy is usually built around somebody suffering. Or the Citadel. I think that the Citadel actually would be worse because a worse threat than Aegon. Because it's like, at least with the Wall, he's going to be sort of near the prophecy. But if he goes to the Citadel, it's like, nope, he ain't going near there. And the thing that I wanted to do here is just kind of, Jon is just miserable, and we just get to kind of point and laugh at his misery and kind of mix in with Aegon being like, what is going on? This does not make any sense. Why you? You're a northern bastard. Why not Viserys? And Jon's just like, no idea.
Or not, we're stuck together, Jon. Though why I'm stuck in your head is a mystery. Why you and not Viserys? No idea. And I wish that was the case. Maybe then I'd be able to have some peace. I need to understand why fate chose you to be my host. Not interested in finding out. We should ask your father who your mother was. I saw the moment of your birth. Then everything went dark. She might be the key to understanding. Maybe she was a dragon seed. Yes, that must be it. I want to die. Jon, this could shut up, please.
Groaning, Jon stands up and shoves the voice to the back of his mind and walks back to Winterfell. Months pass as Jon continues fighting to squash the voice in his head. Sometimes while practicing, Jon will have a flash of a move or a trick from Aegon and use it on Robb or Sir Roderick, startling them. When they ask where he learned that maneuver, Jon just fobs them off. The direwolves are found, and Jon takes Ghost, followed soon by the king's arrival. When Robert arrives, Aegon immediately cries out that he looks like Orys, just fat. Jon forces the boys down as he watches the king's party from the battlements.
Yeah, I thought it would be funny to just have him be like, wait, that's Orys, but he's fat. Since Orys Baratheon, even after he loses a hand and kind of becomes a dejected asshole, is still probably one of the preeminent warriors of his time period. And yeah, he's like, please, please. Yeah, he doesn't and this is kind of just illustrating these two are butting heads, and then that'll make the dynamic a little bit better of how self-aware Robert is. He kind of is, since even in the book, Robert is self-aware that he's like, I'm not a good king. I never claimed to be. I'm kind of mentally deficient. He's kind of like Alex Jones in a way. And knows exact. That's all he can think of really is just he's not a good person. Yeah, he's just kind of just doesn't care. He doesn't have a he's just content with himself. He's content with the fact that he's a loser.
Want to pop in? No, we're staying back. I need to know if my kingdom is in good hands, Jon. It's not your kingdom anymore. So long as the Iron Throne exists, it is my kingdom.
He's kind of like Alex Jones. He's a fat dude.
I need to know if my kingdom is in good hands, Jon. It's not your kingdom anymore. So long as the Iron Throne exists, it is my kingdom, Jon.
Jon ignores the voice as best he can, but finally he gives in and approaches Robert. Aegon immediately starts throwing questions at Jon to ask the king, but Jon forces the voice down.
Your Grace, I was hoping to ask you a bit about the realm down south.
Ah, Ned's bastard. You look like your father. What's on your mind?
Aegon surges up in Jon's mind and starts blurting out questions. This time the words come out of Jon's mouth in Aegon's voice. Jon is so horrified that the voice had assumed control over him that he retreats and lets Aegon question Robert about aspects of rule. Robert is taken aback by the sudden shift in accent, but he does his best to answer. As Robert gives answers that are less than satisfactory, the Conqueror blurts out,
Then what do you do?
Since you've been asking smart questions, between you and me, I mostly haul, hunt, and feast. Jon Arryn did the ruling for me, and now your father will do the same.
What kind of king are you? Have you no care for your people?
Jon immediately flinches back from Robert's angry glare, not wanting to get killed. Jon quickly apologizes. Robert's expression shifts, and he laughs.
Well, you've been raised by a good man. Just don't say that in court.
Jon bows and leaves, trying to ignore Aegon's yammering. How could the realm have gotten into this state? How could Orys's line have gotten so far to seed? That part seemed to hurt Aegon the most.
Orys meant a lot to you. He was my best friend. We did everything together. The only one I loved more was Rhaenys. They meant the world to me, but that's not what troubles me. It's the realm, Jon. That man is no king. He's not fit to sit on.
Yeah, what I wanted to... You just said a couple of people on fire and call it a night. Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, with this, I did want to kind of contrast, because to a certain extent, Aegon is at least something of a... he's at least able to keep the realm going. He was actively involved in governing the realm, where he would do all of these royal progresses. Rhaenys and Visenya would be his rulers at home to take care of things while he was out going across the realm. He also brought Aenys with him. The main problem that happened is just he didn't really set Maegor up well, I think, is the main problem that we have here. And also, yeah, he didn't codify the laws, which he should have. That was Alysanne and Jaehaerys, probably mostly Alysanne. And one of the things that I wanted to do here was I wanted to just have the contrast of Aegon wants to be at least a fairly active king, as opposed to Mr. As opposed to Mr. Hunt, Feast, and whore my way into an early grave, which, functionally wasn't his. Administration, even Dor was brought in. Yeah, functionally, and there's at least some element to. I wanted to kind of have Aegon at least like say, hey, since he's like the king should be actively involved in his kingdom, and so that's why I was just like write him, since I think that to a certain extent Aegon's idea of kingship wouldn't be necessarily dissimilar to wouldn't necessarily be too different to Johnson. He would be able to at least inspire Jon to want to take the throne.
Throne I built. Well, you're going to unseat him with what army and which dragons? I've studied your wars. Your tactics relied on the fact that you had a giant fire-breathing wizard. Daemon the young dragon took Dawn with actual tactics. Without Balerion, you're nothing.
Aegon went silent. Evidently that had touched a nerve.
Yeah.
Sighing in relief, Jon goes
Yeah, I
to
wanted
to spend
to
time with Ghost.
include
After a few hours, Jon retires to his home. When he sleeps, he dreams that Aegon's waking up next to Rhaenys. When he touches her face, she smiles and puts his hand on her stomach. Shock goes through him when he realizes what she meant, feeling a joy unlike anything else he'd experienced. He kisses her. Jon's eyes flutter open, the taste of Rhaenyra's mouth still on his lips. Rubbing his eyes, Jon walks out to the yard and starts practicing. He would prefer to get it in before everyone else got there. After practicing, he puts up his sword and waits for Joffrey and Robb. After the altercation between the prince and Jon's brother, Aegon starts talking again.
Jon, the realm is in danger. We have to save it. I'm a bastard. If you have me in your head, it means you share my blood. You have more of a claim than that fat drunko his spoiled brat. With what army? Nobody cares what happens to bastards, even if they do have some dragon blood.
Yeah.
Jon, it's our duty. I've only ever wanted Winterfell. Nothing more.
So you set your sights on a single castle when the whole 7 kingdoms is within your grasp.
I love this place. It's my home. Why should I want more than that?
That made Aegon go silent.
Yeah, so a lot of people were, at least one person said in there, he doesn't want, when on the Iron Throne, it's just like, Why would he want the Iron Throne? He would want Winterfell because that's his home. It's his due. He loves this place. I kind of put in a similar-ish characterization to Adam Young in Good Omens, if you guys are familiar with that particular book, where with all the world at his feet, what this kid wants is Tadfield, the small town that he loves. And that was kind of the thought that I went with, is that Jon wants Winterfell because he feels like it's his inheritance, and he kind of wants it. But that's kind of one of the things that I want to do here was, yeah, Jon is ambitious and he wants Winterfell, but he never considered the Seven Kingdoms. And I was just like, yeah, why would he have believed that he could get the Seven Kingdoms? Why would he want the Seven Kingdoms? It's too abstract. And he's just like, why would I want something that dumb? Since that's the whole of his ambition. I honestly wasn't sure where to go other than take it. I don't. I honestly wasn't sure where to take it other than Aegon taking the throne, since I think there would still be an element of he would want to drive things forward, and yeah, he might take the Targs home, but there still be I think that there's still kind of an element of, you know, there's an element of duty there where there's the uh um you got to put a good king on the throne. There's a unambitious, funnily enough, similar to unambitious Viserys, where yeah, that's a fair comparison. Where Viserys kind of becomes Lord of Penta. When he becomes Lord of Pentos, I was like, yeah, he's got Ned as his dad, and Ned is kind of famously unambitious. He's one of those guys that's like legit humble, and yeah, and he would be thinking, but he would be like, "Yeah, you're cute. I like you." And it kind of is even funnier because she's pocket sized, like she's 5'2", she's tiny, and he's probably like head and shoulders taller than her, and since she's literally pocket sized, she's super tiny. um, but yeah, this it's an interesting comment. My thought was Aegon would see kind of similar to he saw the realm kind of in disarray. He would want to take it back. That was my thought, at least. And just kind of the fact that I don't think that he would be content as just kind of living a quiet life, and really living where is if he went to the wall, like he would be like, no, do not go to the wall. No, 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 no. We are not doing this. At least my thought.
For a while, Jon walks around the castle, trying to clear his head. Eventually, he breaks the silence.
I think I understand you better, my friend. Why won't you try to understand me? You're just a voice in my head. I should simply ignore you as a figment of my imagination. I may be a voice, but I am still a living mind. I am totally alone.
Is she put off by younger Solarian features, or is she? I think wasn't she put off by Lysona Mar? That was my recollection. That she was put off by Lysona Mar's Valyrian features, not young Griff's. That was my understanding, because Lysona Mar kind of looks like a weirdo. Like he looks weird. Like that was my recollection, at least. I could be wrong though, since 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 I don't think she's met Aegon. Arianne, Winds of Winter. Um, yeah, so I don't think that she is. I think she's put off by Lysono Mar, since Lysono Mar is just a weird, creepy, creepy dude. Who's dude. Um, yeah, since she hasn't met with Aegon yet, and it's just he's just this like Sonamar is a deliberately off-putting weird person, unlike Aegon, who kind of just looks like a regular person. So he's just kind of he just kind of I think she just doesn't like Lysono. My thought, at least, is that she she doesn't like Lysonomar, because Lysonomar is designed to look weird. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's a neat headcanon, but yeah, Lysonomar is like is odd. Yeah, Lysonomar is strange. Yeah, he's definitely designed to be like a gender fluid character, since the description is lilac eyes, white gold hair, and with lips that would have been the envy of whore. At first glance, Griff would have taken him for a woman. I think it's just she doesn't like androgynous looking people, since she does fantasize about Darkstar. Yeah, she has vaguely Valerian features, and she likes him. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting. Like she thinks she's thinking, oh, he's a bad boy, I like him. She especially likes the uh like forbidden fruit deal.
My true love is gone. My brother is gone. My sister is gone. My descendants are dead, save for a pair of exiles on the other side of the narrow sea, begging me for scraps. The only person I can talk to hates me.
That makes Jon go silent. Guilt churns in his stomach, making him reconsider his actions. Sighing, he looks in the mirror and sees Aegon's reflection. The man looked completely devastated and sad, a couple of tears trickling down his cheeks. That made Jon feel worse.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so at this one, Bad Boy is just cringe. Yeah, he's super. Yeah, Darkstar is really cringe. I feel like when I write dark characters, I actually know how to make them cool. And mainly because I actually give them some element of humanity. Like even Daemon in the next one. Yeah, fair enough, Chris, for making me reread George's description so much that prose is wrong. Yeah, it's super weird. That whole conversation between Lysono Mar and Ariane is freaking weird. And he's clearly like designed to be gender fluid. Whether that was mainly because George has kind of been like that for. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. He doesn't switch sides. He's he's mostly having sex with virgins. Like that's his thing. And so that means he's having sex with like 14, 15-year-olds, possibly younger. But kind of going back to this, one of the things that I wanted to do here was I wanted to illustrate kind of a moment of vulnerability for Aegon, where he's like, yeah, this guy's kind of lost everything. His whole thought process for his line that would stem for 1,000 years or whatever is destroyed, and his whole family's gone, and his descendants are beggars. Like this is the worst case scenario for him, and so he would kind of break down. And it was actually an idea. Yeah, well, book Daemon, yeah, at least show Daemon has Matt Smith's personality behind him. whereas Daemon is kind of just a cruel jerk. Though they kind of make though there's I don't know whether it's a Doylist mistake or a George mistake when he ponders over the succession after Mysaria's baby dies. Yeah. Yeah, trying to recreate. Yeah, it is kind of a tragedy in many ways, where the poor guy is like, I don't know what else to do, and and to be perfectly honest, I had no idea what else to do, other than have them grab 3 living dragons. Because that's kind of the funny thing is George didn't kill off Silverwing, or the Cannibal, or Sheep Stealer, and so there is a good possibility all of those dragons are alive, since Silverwing's just on Red Lake, and there's no way to kill Silverwing. Like, just no way. The only way the mob was able to kill Dreamfire is because she committed building assisted suicide. That's it. They could kill Morgul, Shrikos, Tyraxes, and all of those smaller dragons, because they're about the size of horses. Dreamfire, no. You can't kill Dreamfire. Dreamfire is way too large. She's as big as Vermithor, and Vermithor is a kaiju. A very small kaiju, but he's a kaiju. So, yeah.
Aegon. But what would you have me do? We should at least find Viserys and Daenerys. Please, Jon. And the Seven Kingdoms? I don't know yet, but maybe. Were any dragons unaccounted for during the dance? Yes, there were. Silverwing, Sheep Stealer, and the Cannibal. The Cannibal. I remember him. We should try finding him. Are you mad? That thing killed any rider that came to claim him. Jon, it's important for my image. We need to have a giant black dragon. For what?
Yeah, so this bit, we were talking, figure out his new life. I didn't really know where else to take his new life, really, where he would just be freaking out, just thinking, the realm has gone to crap. I need to fix it. I don't know. I didn't really know where else to take it, really, because I was like, where's Jon going to go? Is he going to go to the wall? Is he going to... Yeah. It's Dreamfire. Yeah, it's super strange. I don't really understand. Yeah, even the note. Yeah, it's just kind of a strange thing where, it might have been Ian Gildane. Cyrax. I don't even know what was going on there, really. It's one of the weirdest things. But one of the things that I wanted to do here, this was actually a part of a conversation that I had with our editor while I was just talking about it, where he would be like, at one point I just said, Jon, we need to have a giant black dragon. It's important for my image. It's my brand. And I was like, I gotta put that in. It's important for my image. And I just had to put that in because it's so freaking funny. And so that's why I just put it in there. Because it's legitimately funny. Where he's just like, we have to have a giant black dragon. It's important for my image. And there were so many funny jokes in there where they were like, and thus Aegon is my new favorite character. Yeah. Cyrex actually goes after Sheep Stealer, probably because there's some psychic feedback.
Kingdoms. With a dragon the size of the Cannibal, we can find the others and restore the rule of the dragons. Put things right. So I usurp the throne with dragons. Great idea. Work for Maegor. Then we should ask your father who your mother was. Maybe she's someone who can give you plain.
That makes Jon pause. He'd always wanted to know, but his father had been so silent about it. Perhaps he should talk to Ned. Jon's father is in his office when Jon enters, consumed with talking to Catelyn.
Jon,
especially compared to Daemon, who is...
Tonight, for once, I want the truth.
Which is interesting compared to Daemon. Yeah, she gets so ragdolled. Yeah, she gets pretty badly messed up. But with this, it's kind of an interesting dynamic where Aegon is a child of heart, Stormy is, yeah. Where Aegon is a child at heart, is kind of just a wholesome kid. And then you have Daemon, who is an angsty teenager, who is a 50-year-old man who's an angsty, disrespectful teenager. Yeah, at least she got a couple of licks in. Yeah, that's a fair point. But yeah, with this is just is that one irritated teenager, and I liked writing David as just this completely arrogant asshole. You totally love 4chan, yeah.
Jon, I know that I'm some sort of dragon seed, but who was my mother? Oh, damn. The memories of Aegon the Conqueror. So you knew. I suspected when you told me your dreams when you were a boy. You insist on knowing. Yes, it is my right to know where I came from.
Seeing that Jon was determined, Ned confesses everything. Aegon gasps with Jon when his claim is revealed. Once it's done, Jon turns to leave.
Jon, where are you going? I'm going to find my family. It's my duty to get them safe. And then I'm going to find a way to unseat Robert. Jon, no. Robert is my friend. Your friend is a fat, lazy, whoremongering drunk who's been ruling the realm I built. I asked him a series of questions about his rule, and he couldn't answer a single one. He's a failure, and undeserving of my throne. It's not your throne, Jon. Eddard Stark, the Iron Throne is not a seat for an injured despot who ignores his duties because he's a slovenly drunkard. If you will not see that your friend is unworthy of the Iron Throne, then I will go elsewhere. You are not the man I thought you were.
Ned and Catelyn stare at Jon, expression stunned. At that moment, they didn't see a young man. Instead, before them was a king, though he wore no crown. There was even a flash of another man beside Jon, a slim man with short silver hair and purple eyes. Catelyn's hand goes to her mouth when the apparition appears. Jon turns and leaves, followed by Ghost. Not fully knowing what he would do, he saddles his horse and rides out. The only thing he carries besides his supplies are fire and blood and his sword. Initially, he thinks of White Harbor, but then Aegon speaks up.
Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to do with this is I wanted to kind of have a bit of a tragic parting between Jon and Ned, because to illustrate, because that's one of Ned's flaws is that he cannot see just how bad of a king Robert is, and he doesn't really call out his friend as much as he should have. And it's similar problem-ish to Jon Arryn, where Jon Arryn just kind of lets him. Yeah, Darren the Second would have loved Silverwing. Yeah, since he's kind of just a gentle soul at heart. And I love the little Yota. I can't remember who it is, but he just has Daron basically be Baelor Breakspear's biggest fan, and he just loves his son so much. Yeah, and whereas Aegon would be like, no, this guy's a loser. He's the equivalent of that drunken fat that frat boy who is super impressive in his prime, but now has gone to seed. Like bang bang. Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds about right. I honestly probably would like, if we're going to do like slice of life deals, I think that it would be interesting if we did the what if Tywin. I've started seeing this pop up in the comments. What if Tywin retired to Essos? Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Jon, I remember in one of the lectures this Bloodraven went to the wall with Darksister. Could we go find it? We're already in deep bloody water, Aegon. How do you expect to find the sword? Can I borrow your body for a moment? I have a plan.
Jon hesitates, then allows Aegon to take control and draw his sword.
Yeah.
As he talks, he writes out what he is saying with the tip of the weapon.
The way I see it, we're going to need a few components before we retake the Seven Kingdoms. First, we're going to need to recover Darksister and my sword, Blackfire, which is impossible. Second, we need to claim the cannibal, which is impossible and insane. Third, we need to recover Viserys and Daenerys. That might be doable. Good. We're making progress. Fourth, we need to find the remaining dragons and have your uncle and aunt claim Sheepstealer and Silverwing. And we're right back to impossible. I'm starting to think we need to add an additional obstacle. Jon Snow's bad attitude. My bad attitude? What you're saying is completely insane. Everything you're talking about is resting on us getting a dragon, and the one in question is a vicious monster who nobody ever claimed. We are both going to die or have to go back to Winterfell looking like idiots. Jon, it's not just about us. It's about the people. They have a right to have a king who hears them, understands them. When I landed on the site that would eventually become King's Landing, the people cheered that they would have a true king. I was the one with the strength and means to unite the Seven Kingdoms and end the wars.
Jon rubs his eyes, then looks down at the writing in the dirt. Blowing his cheeks out, Jon taps the sword against the ground. This was mad, but he felt moved by how Aegon talked about kingship. It wasn't about glory or power. It was about responsibility, being the right man for the task, like Ned always talked about. Finally, Jon nods and stands up.
To the wall it is.
When the young...
Yeah, so this bit, Daemon breaks down over him growing. Yeah. It implies it's not the first time he's done this. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like the idea of Baelor bonding with Vermithor and Vhagar with Vhagar, and might be funny if good old Daemon Blackfire bonded with what's his bucket, Sunfire, while Daenerys bonded with Dreamfire, kind of creating some little bit of little bit extra tragedy, you know. And one of the things that I wanted to do there was kind of treat the conquest almost like it was a heist story where Aegon is going, we're going to need this, we're going to need this, and going with the what's it, the trope of the Ocean's 11 deal where he's like, where Jon is like, all right, and that's impossible and insane. All right, that might be doable, and we're right back to impossible. And I had to include the line from Mistborn. Admittedly, this is not a spoken line; it's just written. But I just had to put in the Yeaton's bad attitude. Food. Oh, you wanted? Oh, I should have done that. I didn't think about that. That would have been funny. I don't know how I would have included that, but I really would have liked to do that. That would have been great. But yeah, and I like that idea. Yeah, definitely not older than that, but his egg is okay. Be interesting, since he just kind of pops up in the narrative and then disappears from it. And this is kind of a, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. But yeah, I wanted to have Jon talk about just kind of be talking about him and just have a little bit. He's still wearing size, okay. Yeah, I think he's in the tier of he's slightly smaller than Vermithor. Is the size that he's at. So I find it, yeah, he's not bigger than Balerion, no. Definitely not. He's gonna be big, but he's a formidable weapon, but he's not bigger than, if he was bigger than Vermithor, he would if he was Balerion sized or as big or even just as big as Vermithor or Vhagar, the cannibal would just destroy everything in his path. I think it's just kind of weird that he just disappears. Same with Silverwing, where it's just George didn't think about it because it's just like he just doesn't have these dragons die, which would make it, which kind of leaves it open. Like, dude, there are 3 kaiju running around Westeros. What are you thinking?
Man with the direwolf arrives. He immediately asks to speak with the oldest brother of the Watch. After they point him to Maester Aemon, Jon takes the ancient man's hand and places it on his face.
Age might have whitened your eyes, but I know one of my family.
Who are you? That voice, more than cadence, but with a King's Landing accent.
I'm of the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. I was born with Aegon the Conqueror's memories, a voice in my head. I need to find Darksister in Blackfire. This is the last place Darksister was seen.
Yes, you have your father's thoughtful forehead. You are Rhaegar's son. I came to the war with its last owner, Bloodraven.
So that's actually a secret reference to the Odyssey miniseries, which I've been kind of writing a little bit. Yeah, it keeps the fates intentionally ambiguous, but then they disappear because there's no way to kill Silverwing. Like, there is no chance that Aegon Dragonsbane kills Silverwing. Silverwing is just too big. And even if you were to get her, because you have to, because if yeah, sort of, they just vanished. Yeah, they just went off into the east or somewhere, which is why I just said, all right, these 3 dragons don't have a confirmed definitive death in the series, so I can use them to recreate the conquest. And it just happens to be that there are 3 Targaryens that are available, 1 Blackfire, 1 Stark Targaryen, and 1 pure Targaryen. So that was my thought. And then we can kind of have. I probably could have had Daemon claim Sheep Stealer and have that, but I was like, I don't know how to involve that really. So I was like, he's got to find Dany pretty quick, and a dragon would make it a little bit too easy and would feel too much of a retread. So I just decided to not do that. I toyed with it, then just discarded it. But with this, it's just this thoughtful forehead, and you are Rhaegar's son, who was originally Menelaus to Telemachus, and I just put that in, and I don't have any theories in the pipeline for Viserys making war on the Greyjoys yet. So I don't have any of that. Sorry.
He vanished north. The sword was with him.
Do you have any ideas about Blackfire? The last owner was probably in Essos, but I wanted to see if perhaps Bloodraven had secured the sword from Brittersteel or one of Daemon's children.
No, he brought only Darksister with him. Blackfire vanished into Essos, my boy. What do you plan?
I mean to bring back the rule of law, take my rightful place on the Iron Throne. It's my duty and my destiny.
Spoken like the Conqueror himself. But can you back that up?
I'm going to try, Uncle Aemon. I have a plan. It's going to be difficult, but so is anything worthwhile.
Good fortune, Jon. You will need it. I shall ask to let you to the wall.
After Jon and Ghost ride out in.
Yeah, so one of the things that, I do like Hugh and Ulf's characterization as well. I like Hugh quite a bit, and Ulf is very entertaining, to say the least. I would agree with that. One of the things I wanted to do here is just have Jon with this theory is I wanted to have kind of a fusing of the Aegon and Jon's voices, where it's clear that they're aligned, so they're kind of speaking with the same voice. And I made sure to give some specific bits and pieces with that to ensure that we kind of have an idea of, yes, these guys are they're aligned now. They're talking with the same voice, and they're going to keep going. Currently, those are the two. Yeah. Will be to the Kraken, just Raven is to the Blackfire. That's funny. Yeah, no, he hasn't. I haven't had him go up against. He hasn't really gone up against. Honestly, that's kind of funny. I think mine are the ones where Viserys has had a significant antagonist and actually kills the antagonist. Mostly, he's up against Aegon. Yeah, Hugh is actually really relatable. I like Hugh quite a bit. Hugh is actually not bad. Just seems like he's just a family man who's trying his best. Is in a terrible, crappy situation, and then he loses his wife because his wife decided to leave.
To the lands beyond the wall, the direwolf sniffs the air and takes off. After a few days of riding, Jon arrives at the Fist of the First Men, then goes east to the haunted forest to find a large weirwood tree growing above a hill. Ghost prowls toward it, and Jon follows. When he enters, he finds a dead man in the roots.
My king, you have come at last, so you know me. I would know the Conqueror's soul anywhere. What would you have of me? I am at your service, now and always. Thank you, Lord Brendan. I have heard the tales that you are a man of arcane.
Yeah, so with this bit, generally Bloodraven is kind of the guy that is he was a very capable fighter. He still had the dog in him when he killed Mr. Beesbury. He would probably be really fun to be around. Yeah, I like that. But one of the things I wanted to do here is that Brendan, if he saw Aegon the Conqueror, he would be like, oh my gosh. He would be totally respectful of him in a way that is different from pretty much every other character he would interact with, by comparison, because here what we have is basically the progenitor of the Targaryen line and his distant ancestor. He's less he's less respectful of what's his bucket, Daemon, but he's still very respectful. But my thought was this is kind of the equivalent. Yeah, the closest he gets is to being is him being respectful to Rhaegar and Alysanne. Yeah. He's still though he's still to a certain extent like he's still kind of talking to them as he's speaking to them kind of with respect as a mentor student type relationship. But he's like, this is very much a he is seeing like this guy is kind of almost like Targaryen Aslan in a way. Um, yeah, and he would just say, Mike. I just kind of like the idea of him just saying, kind of just.
And Jon follows. When he enters, he finds a dead man in the roots.
My king, you have come at last. So you know me. I would know the Conqueror's soul anywhere. What would you have of
definitely
me?
does not
I
respect
am at
you.
your service, now and always.
Thank you, Lord Brendan. I have heard the tales that you are a man of arcane powers. Do those extend to discovering the locations of certain important items?
Dark sister is here in the roots. Take it with my blessing. And I know that you would like to discover the dragons that survived the dance, Blackfire, and the Targaryens in Essos.
Where are they?
Yeah.
Blackfire's location is obscure to me, as are the Targaryen children. The dragons, however, can be found in 3 locations. Sheep Stealer is in the Vale, worshipped by the Burned Men as god. Silverwing nests near Storm's End. And as for your intended prize, the cannibal dens on an island near Skagos. Then Skagos is where I will go. My king. There are pretenders that still remain. They will challenge your rule.
If there are any that share my blood, I will bring them home.
But my king, they are traitors.
They are my blood. I will bring them home. Bloodraven looks into Jon's eyes, seeing the resolve and the soul behind them. Slowly, he inclines his head. Jon grabs the sword and takes it from the roots. As Jon gets a sense for the weapon, Aegon.
Like he would be like, no, this was not part of the plan. Blackfires die. He's like, no, Blackfires are my children too. We're bringing them all back. He's like, dig it.
Jon takes a moment to feel the weapon in his hands, remembering how it had been to spar with his sister Visenya.
Yeah,
Finally, the two
Erebus
emerge,
was
and around them, the nights had turned cold.
That's a
Ghost
good
bares his
point.
fangs, red eyes
Flashes
glaring into the
across
night.
the back
Figures
as
emerge
a
from the forest.
log
Humanoid
equivalent
shapes that
exchange.
formed from ice, with eyes blue as crystal. Jon draws the sword and points it at them.
Who are you that would stand against the king of Westeros?
Smiling eagerly, one of the White Walkers steps forward and draws a blade made from ice. Jon salutes the creature, which it mimics. The 2 blades lock. As the blades hit, the walker seems to falter, as it had expected the sword to break. Jon attacked viciously, ignoring the sound that the weapons made when they clashed. Finally, he cuts down the creature, the walker melting into a puddle on the ground. The other 2 walkers advance. In that moment, Jon and Aegon meld their 2 minds together and attack the pair. The creatures are fast, but Jon has youth in Aegon's deadly skill. He blocks one strike, then another, then darts around and cuts both down in succession. Ghost glances around and motions toward the wall. Sheathing Darksister, Jon leaps onto his horse and rides back to Castle Black. He would need to find the cannibal next. After giving Mormont the warning, along with the 2 White Walker swords, the old bear agrees to fortify Castle Black and send word to pull back any ranging parties, as well as allow the wildlings passage. Rather than take him, Jon has Ghost stay as Aemon's companion. If he was to take the dragon, he needs to leave Ghost behind. After telling Ghost to take good care of Aemon, Jon gives him a scratch behind the ears. As Jon leaves, Aemon strokes Ghost's fur and gives him a bone to chew on. Ghost licks his hand and sits down in front of the old man. After a short voyage, Jon disembarks to Skagos, then starts herding the sheep he brought on the mainland deeper into the island. Finally, he finds a large cave, the entrance littered with bones. Remembering his history, Jon starts sending sheep after sheep into the cave until finally he hears the sounds of hurrying.
Yeah, with this, a lot of people were like, why are you having Jon leave Ghost? And it's just like, how exactly is he going to get the wolf onto? How is he going to get the wolf onto the cannibal saddle? That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I was just he would leave Ghost with Aemon to take care of him, and Aemon would be like, "Hey, Ghost, I like you. You're a good boy," and Ghost would be like, "All right, I like you too, old man." And with this, I just wanted to use the sheep stealer, using the sheep as a means of taming the dragon, where basically what all that she did was make him docile by having him eat sheep. And then we just go from there. And there's actually a funny image where where just Jon drives the sheep in, and the cannibal just has his jaws open, and boom, 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 just goes in and in and in. into the cannibal's mouth. Yeah, I think that actually makes a whole lot of sense. I would agree with that. That makes sense.
Swallowing his fear, he walks into the cave and finds the huge black dragon. The creature's green eyes flick to Jon, but makes no move as Jon walks over to him and scratches him under the jaw.
Those sheep taste good, old boy. You could have more. You don't have to be alone here. We could find you a mate, someone to share your life with.
The cannibal's pupils dilate at the mention of a mate. Growling, it rises up, glaring down at Jon, who stands his ground. Narrowing his eyes, the cannibal roars at Jon, who folds his arms. Seeing that he can't intimidate the soft skin, the cannibal bares his teeth.
I think you need a name besides the cannibal. Do you like the name Valerian?
The cannibal hisses at Jon, clearly displeased with that idea. Jon grimaces and Aegon seems to wince.
Really? You just had to, didn't you? Sorry, it just slipped out. I've got others.
Jon runs through the name suggested by Aegon.
Yeah, I like I just wanted to kind of like, you are Valerian 2.0. He's like, no, you are not. I am not Valerian 2.0, you jackass. And I just like that idea where he's like, no. And so I just decided to put it there. And Jon is like, are you really so Daenerys would kill him in the afterlife? He's like, Valerian is mine. I am the only Valerian.
Finally, he settles on the one he likes.
What about Belzamon? He was the god of despair in old Valeria.
The cannibal seems to consider this and growls.
Yeah, so I just kind of pulled that from Wheel of Time, since I was like, they're going to call him something other than the cannibal, since cannibal, and I just like exercising every toad. That's great. And so he would. I like a lot of the images that they come up with for the cannibal, where he's just this like evil-looking asshole dragon.
Provingly, Belzamon lets him climb onto his back and fly under cover of night toward Dragonstone. Once they slip into the volcano's secret chamber containing dragon saddles, and Jon outfits his black dragon, he sneaks down into the castle. Aegon knew about something, and he had to retrieve it. Jon covertly makes his way through the corridors until he finds a secret passage with Aegon's help. Once there...
Yeah, so with this, there was a little bit here where I realized, oh, I'm getting close to the word count. And there was originally a whole Melisandre conversation that was supposed to set up the Stannis one later. But then I decided to snip it out. And since it wasn't relevant, and yeah, it's kind of like he doesn't really do much during the dance other than kill, try to kill Alan after the Grey Ghost, when he's trying to get the Grey Ghost. So yeah, it frightens them off.
He finds a suit of Valyrian steel armor, just his size. He dons the armor using his...
But yeah, there was originally going to be a whole conversation with Melisandre here, but then I decided to hack it out because I was like, this isn't really relevant. I don't need to put it here. And it was only vaguely plot relevant, and really the Stannis conversation later kind of took care of it. So I just decided to cut it in order to get some extra word count so we could have something of a satisfying ending.
Cloak to cover up the armor. Jon makes his way out. Now that he has the location of the other two dragons and his mount has the scent, Jon flies Belzamon towards the mountains near Storm's End first. As they close, Belzamon's nose twitches and he turns. The large dragon lands near the opening of a cave and prowls in. Then a shriek echoes through the cave as a silver dragon with blue eyes leaps out and snaps at Belzamon. Growling, Belzamon snaps back at Silverwing, then hunkers down when Jon slips into his mind and forces him to withdraw. Silverwing pauses and tilts her head, seeming wary. Letting his head bob from side to side, Belzamon starts circling Silverwing, causing the she-dragon to match him. After engaging in the awkward dance, Belzamon snakes his head forward and nuzzles Silverwing in response.
Yeah, there was also a very amusing comment there where, why are they making the cannibal a simp? First Vhagar, then Silverwing. And my thought was, he's like, they have mated pairs all the time, dude. And my thought, at least with the Balon living script, as well as the as well as this, that the cannibal just kind of senses that his writer will probably was, but I still have this like, I still find it very amusing to a certain extent. And I think there was one person that said, why'd you make the cannibal a simp? Because I honestly can't tell with some of these people, where I can't tell whether it's a joke or not. And maybe it's just because I'm autistic and can't see. the nuances there, but sometimes these people are dead serious, and it's very annoying. But yeah, big thing here. I was just like, hey, it's their writers are going to be paired up. Let's just make their dragons pair up. But yeah, there was a
Silverwing nips at him, causing Belsman to purr. Then he licks her face. It was an odd pairing, the evil-looking black dragon and the beautiful silver she-dragon, but somehow they seem to fit. Jon curiously slips his mind back into Belsman's, then immediately retreats.
We'd better give these two some privacy. Probably wise. Let's go.
Now that they have two dragons, Jon sits down and tries to block out the sounds coming from the cave. Ugh. Sighing, Jon looks up at the stars and
yeah, they're just having where the two dragons are having a gay old time, and they're just like, ugh, I hate this. And there was originally a little cut bit where the bow was snipped out because he was like felt like a gay panic, where Aegon and Jon realize, oh, you're gonna be in my head when I lose my virginity. Great. I'll give you privacy, but maybe I'll give you some pointers. It's like, no, I don't. No, no, you won't, because that's super awkward. Don't. But Boba ended up cutting it. It's funny and harmless enough. But he was like, that's gay. He just like, no, this is gay panic stuff. I don't want to look at your dick. It's just like, I didn't mean it that way, but I guess you could take it that way.
wonders if this plan could be possible. He had two of the dragons. Maybe he could get the third. He just needed to bring the other Targaryens home. Where were they? What if there was a Blackfire? And could he find Blackfire? Dark Sister was an excellent sword, but Aegon had mixed with him so much that he felt the Conqueror's yearning to be reunited with his fabled blade. Sighing, Jon beds down. When night falls, Jon, Belsman, and Silverwing fly to an island off the Fingers. After hiding Silverwing there, Jon flies toward the Mountains of the Moon under cover of night. Belsman immediately heads toward a large mountain hideout, seeing a group of burned men standing in front of a massive cave. When Belsman descends on them, the tribesmen flee, and another dragon, an ugly brown creature, crawls out from the cave and roars at the cannibal. Contrasting with his reaction to Silverwing, Belsman just gives the other dragon an evil glare and licks his fangs. Sheepstealer growls, lashing his tail and snarling at the black dragon. Looking down at the other dragon with an expression of superiority, Belsman puffs himself up. Sheepstealer flicks his tail, then bows down. Now that he has Sheepstealer's legions, Jon brings him to where he's hiding Silverwing. The two play fight like old friends.
Well, we have 3 dragons. Now we just need 2 more riders.
Yeah, my thought was with the whole Silverwing and Sheepstealers that they would kind of be buddies from when they were on Dragonstone, and Sheepstealer was bonded with Rhaegar's first pregnancy. The cannibals' first pregnancy. Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. That's funny.
In an army, I have to hand it to you. We managed to do the impossible together. I didn't think we could. Ambition, vision, and the ability to execute on a plan were always my strongest qualities, Jon. Even if it's impossible. Before me, nobody had ever considered using dragons to take Westeros. Next steps then. We find Viserys and Daenerys, maybe Blackfire, and bring them here. Yes, we could bring more troops from Essos. There's probably a number of exiles that would flock to our banner. With 3 dragons and the promise of land in Westeros, they will come. Maybe Baelzamon can track them. Good thinking, Jon. I'll make a king of you yet. Maybe with you, I could have the heir that I failed to train with Aenys and Maegor. A chance to do things right. You remind me of Ori, honestly. Both of you had chips on your shoulders the size of the wall. Both needed to prove yourselves. Naturally gifted, driven, but practical. Always had his feet on the ground. So, to Essos.
Jon nods and walks over to Baelzamon.
Yeah, with this conversation, I wanted to illustrate there was a little bit of a similarity with where Aegon is kind of seeing Jon as his son now, as his kind of almost adopted son. And he is just thinking, hey, maybe I can have a real heir with you, and as opposed to what kind of happened earlier in his reign with Aenys and Maegor kind of not turning out quite right.
The great black dragon surges into the sky, and as Jon slips into his mind, and as he does, Aegon gives him a memory of Blackfire. Immediately, the dragon takes off toward Pentos. When the dragon flies over the city, everyone flees at the sight of him. Following the smell, the cannibal lands near a large manse. The creature opens its jaws and roars as Illyrio hides within.
You have something of mine. Return it to me. I don't know what you're talking about. I know you have Blackfire in there, fat man. Give me my sword.
And what will you pay for it?
Your life, thief.
I bought it fairly. From where I stand, you are the thief.
Give me the sword, and I will not destroy this house. I am Aegon Targaryen, and I will have my sword.
At that moment, a boy about Jon's age pokes his head out of the window, blue-dyed hair giving him a striking appearance. For a moment, he stares at the dragon, and his eyes narrow.
Wait a moment. I'm Aegon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar and Elia. Who are you? The name I was given to hide myself was Jon Snow, but I have all the Conqueror's memories, so I shall carry his name. Well,
That's going to make things confusing.
Not really. I think there's a more fitting name for you.
I like that
Daemon
idea.
Blackfire. Wait, what? Tell him who he is, my fat friend. He won't be able to do what you need him to do.
From his position next to the newly christened Daemon Blackfire, John Connington glares at the cheesemonger. Illyrio stammers and tries to justify himself, but when Baelzemond smashes open the manse and picks him up in his fangs, the cheesemonger confesses everything. Satisfied, John has his dragon drop the fat man. As he cowers on the ground, John slides off his dragon and waits for Connington and Daemon to come out of the house. Connington offers Blackfire, and John draws the weapon, breathing in a long, satisfied sigh. His sword was back where it belonged.
So, what do you do with me? I have no ill will.
Yeah, so at this bit, I just wanted to have a little bit where the character gets his Excalibur back. I kind of like being able to, because one of the things about a lot of these characters is that if they were to get a hold of they would want to get a hold of their prized Valyrian swords back, not just because it's a status thing, but because it was kind of a part of them, similar to how when Cregan gets ice, it's a moment in the Cregan Reborn script. When Aegon gets Blackfire back, it's a moment. When Daemon gets Dark Sister, it's a moment. And I really want to keep, that's a motif that I want to keep going because yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. It's actually interesting. I want to be able to do that. That would be neat.
Toward you. The Blackfires are just as much blood of the dragon as me. I will bring all of my family home. You are my family. Take my hands and my friendship.
Blinking, Daemon accepts the hand and kneels. John.
Yeah, and I wanted to, yeah, I like that. But one of the things I wanted to do here is just, one, I wanted to clear up the confusingness and just say, yeah, he's not Daemon. He's not going to be Aegon Targaryen. He's going to be Daemon Blackfire, and that's just going to be his name now. And yeah, that's probably might be a little bit lazy, but I just went, yeah, let's just go with that because that's just going to make things horrifically confusing if he's just called Aegon. And so, but I think that he would basically turn Aegon into his buddy and would do his best to just kind of take him under his wing, and they would kind of be best buddies. And I kind of explored that a little bit more in the Jon accidentally killing Joffrey deal as well. Yeah, the Blackfires themselves are lazy, so no surprise there, yeah.
Unbuckles Blackfire to his belt and offers Dark Sister to Daemon.
The first Daemon carried this sword. It is only right that you should too. Come with me. There's someone waiting for you.
When the two of them arrive on the island, Daemon immediately aims for Silverwing, but she hisses at him. Not deterred, the Blackfire goes to Sheepstealer. The Brown Dragon is much more welcoming than Silverwing. After claiming him, Daemon and Jon start discussing what to do next. Now that they have the dragons.
Yeah, I think that was a funny bit of, hey, pretty dragon, piss off! Up. And he's like, okay, gotta go with the ugly one. Since our editor actually was like, wait, is this Sheepstealer ugly? And they was like, oh, check the wiki. Yeah, he's an ugly brown dragon. So yeah. And then he's like, but yeah, I think the kind of like the idea of Silverwing would want Danny would be like, no. Jon was essentially rational people solving their problems with communication, the what if. Though I think one of my favorite lines from that, somebody actually put it in the comments, that it's like, sawed off with that horse crap answer, Jon Snow is now my new favorite you know nothing Jon Snow-esque line. Yeah, kind of.
Face off against the Dothraki. They couldn't simply burn them. That would be too dangerous and could lead to both Daenerys and Viserys dying. So they would simply use the dragon's claws and fangs. After the discussion of their attack is done, Daemon's attention shifts to the future.
So, what place do I have in your kingdom, Aegon? You've given me a dragon and a sword, but what do you wish of me? You will be my heir until I have a son. I plan on ensuring you have a good marriage. There are a few prospects that I think you'll like. Arianna Martell will be ideal. I want you to be at my side. Brothers bound in blood, though not by blood.
Jon puts his hand up, and Daemon grasps it with a smile.
Brothers until the end.
Near the edge of the Dothraki Sea, Viserys looks up at the sky. Something was moving through the clouds. He frowns and narrows his eyes, which then widen in amazement as two dragons, one black as pitch and the other brown, descend toward the Khalasar. For a moment, he thought he was in a dream. Then the dragon smashes into the Khalasar like hawks on rabbits, picking up bunches of the screamers in their claws and crushing them. Fear spikes inside Viserys as he attempts to get away, only to be jostled and pushed around by the Khalasar. As he tries to mount a horse, he finds himself facing an angry Dothraki. In his desperation, he picked the wrong horse. His hand drops to the ground, followed by his head. Daenerys tries to stand, only to fall from her sore legs as the Khalasar devolves into anarchy. Her handmaidens help her up, then escort her out. Irri puts her hand on the horse and smacks the silver mare's rump. With a whinny, she takes off. As she does, the riders surge around her, jostling the horse. Chaos runs rampant as the dragons systematically slaughter the Dothraki. Jon narrows his eyes and slips into Baelzemond's mind, searching for a flash of silver hair. He sees a young silver-haired girl in the midst of the Dothraki. A loud scream rises into the air as the girl is flung from her horse to the ground when Silver is hit by a stray lance. A memory of another lady with silver hair lying broken in a coffin, body mangled almost beyond recognition, surges up in Jon's mind as she tries to crawl towards shelter. Aegon was screaming in horror at the memory.
Not again. Not this time.
Belzamon drops.
Yeah, so at this bit, I want to kind of have a bit of a different thing, because one of the things I like in the Return of the King is when the Nazgul are flying down and they're smashing the horses aside, and I think that's what Jon and Daemon would be doing at this point, because if they start burning two over-serious friends hating their jobs together, yeah, I really need to do that at some point. Part of the thing about that one is it's hard to have a theory that starts. The Rhaegar Hatching Dragon was kind of an odd one where is like, I don't know when to do that. And I just felt, yeah, let's kind of make him this crushy asshole. I really want to do that again. I kind of want to do that because a lot of things need to happen. The Rebellion 1 can't happen in order for that to happen. That's one thing. Because unless Viserys, another kind of option, because you kind of have to start, and if you start back far enough, I'm going to want to explore kind of the ramifications of, okay, there's this bit. Like if, for example, Rickard Stark married Rhaella Targaryen and that happened, I would definitely not want I would want to explore as much of that relationship as possible, because that's kind of what you want to do, and that kind of doesn't leave room for the kids. With Rhaegar Hatching Dragons, that effectively nullifies the whole what's this bucket? The whole rebellion. Yeah, it requires a lot. And there's a bit of a danger where you kind of focus on the initial prompt and then kind of lose time to be able to do crotchety Viserys, since I do kind of really like that idea of crotchety Uncle Viserys, but I need to figure out where a prompt could be. And I'd want to have this little bit where we're on the ground with the characters, where Viserys just picks the wrong person and dies. And since the Dothraki would be like, "You touch my horse, I kill you," deal. And so I really wanted to, hey, what's up? Neo Maker by nature. Yeah. Simple idea, simply, yeah, or Rhaegar didn't run off with Lyanna Stark. Yeah, where he's Aegon's mentor, and he actually acts as his brother's Iron Fist or something like that. Well, you know what actually would be kind of funny is if Rhaegar was like, all right, well, I can't be with Lyanna. Viserys, how about you go with Lyanna? And I think that Lyanna and Viserys would be an interesting matchup. At least I think it would be interesting. Maybe we could try that out
towards
someday.
the Dothraki, slamming down with his body around Daenerys. Gasping, she looks up at the black dragon as it sweeps the horsemen aside with its claws and blasts them with fire. When the rider calls for her to get on, she yells that she can't move. Quickly, Jon climbs off Belzamon and helps Daenerys onto his back, just like he would Arya. As she clings onto him, Jon laboriously climbs up onto the dragon's back and straps her into the saddle. After they have dealt with the Dothraki, they find Viserys' body and the eggs. They secure the eggs and burn the corpse, and Jon takes Dany aside.
Yeah, I actually really, yeah, I did. Yeah, he kind of, it's a blink and you miss it moment, really. But yeah, I kind of did do the whole crotchety Uncle Viserys. He's just kind of sick of dealing with them. It's his line from his line, but later generation, yeah, maybe. Yeah. Later generation where he's like, hey, Brandon Stark, would you be okay with a royal marriage with you and Catelyn. I'd be like, all right, sure.
And to talk with her. She lays out her story, tears flowing down her cheeks, and Jon holds her as she cries. She seems more sad about losing Silver than anything. Finally, he takes her hand and squeezes them.
Dany, I know you've been through an ordeal that would have broken anyone else. You can come home with me. You said you were giving the wind with Silver. Let me give you the sky with another silver beast.
Dany wipes her eyes and hugs him. Memories of Rhaenys holding him surge inside Jon, but he squashes them. He wasn't Aegon, and this wasn't Rhaenys, but perhaps they could come to love each other in the same way. After a quick discussion, Daemon flies to Pentos to collect Connington and to find the Golden Company along with the Company of the Rose and the Wolfpack. While Daemon gathers the army, Jon and Dany go to claim Silverwing. When they land, Silverwing immediately approaches and nuzzles Dany like an old friend. Giggling, Dany gets onto her dragon's back and urges her into the air. Silverwing takes off and lets out a musical call as Belzemon thunders a guttural roar. Finally, Daenerys lands next to him, smiling for the first time since they've met.
You made good on your promise. You have given me the sky with Silverwing.
I try. I was thinking, I need a queen, and I can think of no one I'd like better than you. I know we've just met, but...
I will be your queen, Jon. I'd much rather be your queen than anyone else.
After assembling the mercenary companies and acquiring the ships, Jon, Daemon, and Daenerys get ready to disembark soon after hearing about Robert's death and Ned's imprisonment. Hearing this,
yeah, I would agree. Literally anything is better than what he did. I would very much concur with that. Yeah, his whole thing was that was really, really dumb. Yeah, it's functionally just dude, you screwed up. Yeah.
Jon prepares for war. When he addresses the troops, Jon raises Blackfire above his head.
My work for restoring the blood of the dragon to its rightful place has only just begun. The Dothraki had a taste for the Tempest, but the storm is not yet over. I hear the sound of lightning, and it strikes in the Seven Kingdoms.
The men cheer as the dragons roar. When they land.
Yeah, with that bit, that's just a little quote from one of my from Age of Empires 2, and I felt like, ooh, that's just a great bit of this is a great bit. It honestly, I really like that line from the Genghis Khan or Mongols campaign, and I was like, let's put that in.
And on Dragonstone, Stannis emerges to meet them. The three riders stand in front of their beasts, Daenerys leaning at a casual angle, Daemon with Dark Sister resting across his shoulders, and Jon with his hand on Blackfire's pommel.
Impressive display.
This is less gross. Oh, 100% it is less gross. Us. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it worked far too well. Yeah, it is pretty gross. Us. But yeah, there's there's kind of an element there of at least he's just kind of his ghost as opposed to Daemon, the 50-year-old man perving over his many times great granddaughter. And yet now we kind of get the, I don't know, I was just kind of like, well, one, I need to get him dragons. Two, he's kind of an ephophile. And I was just like, I don't really know of any other options that he would go with since he's a Valyrian supremacist. Now we kind of get the pivotal ending where he overawes Stannis, and I actually pulled a lot of the last line from from a speech, The Wheel of Time. Yeah, still get what you're doing. Yeah, I totally understand. I was just like, I don't know what else. I don't think he would do anything. I think he's just kind of that weird. I was like, he would be like, no, she's not actual. It's just my soul. I'm not actually doing it. It's not it's just not my biological daughter. Granddaughter. Yeah. And then kind of with this bit, I just wanted the kind of each of them is striking a different pose, kind of indicative of their personalities, where Daemon is a little bit more lackadaisical. Well, same with Dany, and then Jon / Aegon is very, very much in a what do you got? Very serious pose, kind of like Ned. Then we have since at one point I wanted to kind of have a moment similar to something in Wheel of Time, where at one point John Randall Thor is confronted with somebody who says, "My authority, this is my authority," and he's like, "No, my authority supersedes Hawkwing." And it supersedes this guy that you're claiming descent from.
You have a large army and 3 dragons. What do you mean to do with them?
I've come to reclaim my kingdom for those who have misruled for the past 16 years. I came here to offer you a place in my kingdom. From what I've heard, you are as dutiful and competent as your brother was not.
So you would have me sit aside my claim?
Lord Stannis, mine is the only claim. I am the king of the 7 kingdoms, and I'm inviting you to join me.
Who are you? You have the look of a Northman, but you don't talk like one.
I am Aegon the Conqueror, first of his name, Lord of the 7 kingdoms, protector of the realm, and shield of my people. I have crossed 300 years of time and space to reclaim my throne. I defeated the armies of Atlantis when I was a boy. I reduced Harrenhal to a smoking ruin. I broke the might of Highgarden and the Rock on the field of fire. I unified the realm and established the king's peace. I held the loyalty of all the lords of Paramount and forged the Iron Throne. My authority supersedes yours. If you claim the right of conquest, then you will bow before my prior claim. You live only at my forbearance. Kneel or be knelt. Your choice.
Stannis stares at the young man before him, a boy that...
Yeah, so a lot of that is from the Wheel of Time, just kind of almost verbatim, since I love that series, and it is some of the best lines. Kneel or be knelt is one of my favorite lines as well. I think that would be interesting. One of the things about that that would require to wait a while, and it would kind of require far too tired to suffer this crap. Yeah, poor guy. He's just so tired. He's like, fine. Schizophrenic asshole. Fine.
Age should not possess such a dignity and confidence. And beside him, flickering, a man, a king with silver hair and black armor. Grudgingly, Stannis drops to his knees and swears himself to Jon. In acknowledgement, Jon names Stannis' hand the king in honor of his ancestor, Orys Baratheon.
You should know that Eddard Stark was executed by the bastard Joffrey, and his daughters are being held in the Red Keep.
What? No, my father. No.
For a second, the composure cracks, and Jon is just a young man again. The last words he'd spoken to Ned were
I want to kind of have another moment of vulnerability here, and just the fact that Jon loses Ned. And also I wanted to have a moment where he rescues Arya, mainly because I was just like, or rescues Sansa and Arya, because those are two of his most important people, really. And so I just decided to put that in. Did the damn
he would never take back. Aegon tries to comfort him, and the presence of his friend gives Jon new confidence. His jaw tightens, as does his grip on Blackfire. The storm would strike King's Landing first. Sansa looks up at the sky when she hears a noise like a hurricane coming toward the city. When the evil-looking black dragon descends toward her, she screams and attempts to take cover. Baelzemon latches onto the Red Keep like a bat and looks into her room with his great green eye. Sansa is sure she's about to die until she hears Jon yelling for her to jump to him. Relieved to be finally free, Sansa jumps to Jon as he flies away. As the ships dislodge the troops, the Lannisters attempt to rally, but then the dragons come down and break open the gates. Not wanting to be burned alive, the garrison surrenders the royal family. When Joffrey pleads for his life, Jon simply raises Blackfire and executes the king, followed by his mother and Littlefinger. With the Iron Throne in his control, Jon crowns himself as Aegon Targaryen, 6th of his name, with Daenerys as his queen. He still thinks of himself as Jon to separate himself from the voice in his head. Sansa eagerly accepts the role as a lady in waiting to the queen when Daenerys offers. Daenerys is happy to have a friend like Sansa to help her with getting to know the court. What remains is dealing with Tywin and Renly. Jon also sends out men to find Arya when she's discovered to be missing. When they find that Robb has declared himself king in the north and is fighting Tywin, and that the Old Lion made Harrenhal his base of operation, Jon flies to the Riverlands. Daemon flies south to Dorne to cement the alliance with the Martells and bring an army up the Boneway, while Daenerys flies to the Stormlands alongside Stannis and the bulk of their army.
I'm a tad surprised to have a queen with me.
Lord Stannis, I think it's fitting that a queen and a Baratheon fight together, as in the last storm. My ancestor Rhaenys fought for her throne. I shall do no less.
Well, you are the queen, and you do have that giant flying fire-breathing lizard, so I can't gainsay you.
Daenerys laughs and gives the big man a kiss on the cheek, causing Stannis to frown and touch his face.
And everyone says you have no humor. We'll get you to laugh one day.
Stannis looks down at the tiny queen, then his mouth twitches slightly.
One day. Maybe, Your Grace. One day.
Jon flies to Harrenhal.
Yeah, one of those things that I'll get to that in a second, but just let me comment on this first. I wanted to kind of have some parallels to the last storm with Orys Baratheon and Rhaenys, mainly because I was just like, yeah, let's just toss that in there. I like having that, those little parallels. One of the things that I also wanted to do there was just have a little moment where Dany, because Dany's adorable at this point in time. She's not she's not as hardened necessarily. And she would be like, yeah. She's like, I'll get you to laugh one day. He's like, baby, fine. You're so darn cute. Dude, I can't resist it. And kind of a similar thing to Puddleglum in Narnia when Jill Pole kisses his cheek, he would be like, dang it, I can't keep up my sourpuss nature.
Circling the castle a few times, causing the garrison to scream and mill. On his second pass, Jon sees Arya and several other captives. Jon enters Beelzemon's mine and has the dragon break open one of the gates, slaughtering the guards, preventing the prisoners from escaping. After Jon yells for them to run, the captives flee. With everyone outside, Jon takes his dragon over the castle. Harrenhal burns a second time, and is all inside reduced to ash, including Tywin himself. After reuniting with his sister, Jon flies Arya to Riverrun, only to find that Robb has already passed the Golden Tooth. While Jon liberates the Riverlands from the Lannisters, Stannis and Daenerys meet Renly's host at the fork of the Mander near Tumbleton. Seeing his brother arrayed against him, Renly decides to try sweeping the opposition aside. When the attack comes, twin roars come from their fronts and their rear. Renly looks up and stares in amazement as Sheepstealer and Silverwing descend to
Tom
morning. Queen Daenerys attacks first, bathing the
if anybody ever does the Silver Chair again, the Tom Baker is pretty much the definitive Puddleglum. They will have massive shoes to fill because he's pretty much just Puddleglum straight out of the book. He's even really, really clever and funny on top of just all of that.
Enemy in flame, just as her ancestors had in the field of fire. Sheepstealer flies in soon after, incinerating rank after rank of soldiers. Renly himself is devoured in dragonfire, and Randall Tarley calls for a surrender. As the second field of fire rages in the south, Jon takes his dragon to the crag where Robb is laying siege to the castle. When Jon approaches, the Northmen take cover until he calls that he means no harm to them and wishes to talk with the king of the north.
Jon, where have you been? And how do you have a dragon? It's a long story, Rob. I'll tell you later. Tywin is done and the Lannisters have paid for their crimes. The girls are safe in King's Landing and Riverrun, and soon Renly will be dealt with. All that's left is the north. Jon, my bannerman names me king. I don't want to be a second Torrhen Stark. I'll be marked for the rest of my days as the king for a year. That's a problem. Wait, I might have a solution. I would still be High King over all Westeros, but what if I restored the Lords Paramount to kings?
Yeah.
They would still swear fealty to the High King and the Iron Throne. You keep your crown and the title of King of the North. When did you get smart? Having a dead man in my head has been very educational. Oh, and I'm going to need you to do something. I require someone to marry into the Reach, and I think you and Marjorie Tyrell would make a good match. Jon, I'm betrothed to a Frey girl. What? Why? How the hell did that happen? I've got a long story of my own, but the long and short of it is I needed to cross, and that was Walder Frey's price. In that case, I pronounce the betrothal null and void. There, done. Jon, I made a vow, and I am king. I get to release people from vows I deem stupid. Come on, Robert, let's get you down to Highgarden. We should also...
Yeah, with this one, I just wanted to... with this, the Conquest, I want to kind of replicate a lot of the Conquest elements in a very short period of time, where kind of the Conquest is really quick and easy. And so I kind of replicated a lot of the elements of it, where we have the king who knelt, the king in the north kneels. But I also thought, you know what, let's have a little bit of the shuffling of the board where Aegon just admits, all right, you don't have to be king. You don't have to set down your crown. You don't have to be king for a year. And Cregan Stark comes. It's like, hi, Rob. He's like, ah! Yeah. And so he gets, and so, as well as the bit of, I'm king now. I understand that the king in the north has elected to make a vow, but considering it's a stupid ass vow, I've elected to ignore it. And so I just said, you know what? I take it back. Yes, it's basically Cricket just runs his life in that thing. Since I would be like, you would kind of just do that for Rob, and just say, hey, belt to ass on everyone. I give no fucks about it. Shoot us in this one. But yeah, I give no F's about anybody. Since Cregan functionally betrays Rhaenyra, and I just put in an explanation for why. No, take vaccines. Yeah, now we kind of are finishing up.
Tyrell know he's the new king of the Reach. There's one other thing. There's something coming from beyond the wall.
Jon and the other dragon riders land atop the wall, the ice crunching under their claws. Shaking himself, Beelzemon lets a line of drool drip from his jaws. Jon glares out at the lands beyond the wall, knowing that a great enemy was out there. The wildlings were now south, settling into any unoccupied territory, along with the company of the Rose and Wolfpack. Turning his gaze away from the north, Jon casually pats his dragon on the neck.
Let the icy bastards know who they are fighting if they come south.
Rearing up, Beelzemon lets out a roar so loud that the wall shakes. Silverwing and Sheepstealer add their own roars of challenge. Whatever was coming, they would face the wrath of three mighty dragons. When the three of them descend to the castle, Jon introduces Dany and Daemon to Aemon and reunites with Ghost. The direwolf immediately sniffs at Dany, then lets her stroke his fur and nuzzles her hand, causing her to smile. Satisfied that all of the parts of himself that he cared about from both his current life and his previous one were together at last, Jon turns away from the north toward his kingdom. It was time for him to rule. That's our theory. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them.
Nice, wholesome story about a king reclaiming his throne. Now we get an kind of helping his distant grandson, saying, hey, grandson, let's get it. Yeah, Korean Stark is kind of a weird one because it's just, he basically goes south, and the only reason he gives mercy to a few people is either if they go to the wall or Baela Targaryen says, don't kill them. And he gets to have sex with, and he gets to marry Alicent Blackwood. Other than that, he doesn't have a personality. And he was difficult to write because I was like, all right, how do I do this? My thought is just he's going to be super pragmatic, just have him be fairly pragmatic dude. That was the thought process I had when writing him, because of the fact that Ned, it's very much a Ned thing rather than a Stark thing. Cregan is the real winner. Like he basically just gets power, and for a while, I like the video. I have a word count. I'm sorry. Maybe it's just because I go into really big amounts of detail in the first bit to get people involved, but then I run out of space. It do be like that sometimes. I need to be better at mathing it out, but it's just sometimes I just get so involved in things that I just can't. But yeah, that's kind of my thought process. John Aarons gets rid of 2K old men, bags of baddie, refuses to elaborate. Yeah, and it's even the funniest thing is he bags a lesbian baddie, or at least bisexual baddie. So, say la vie, yeah, because like clearly Alicent Blackwood is bi, like she's super bi, and it's kind of just weird that they're kind of doing a lot of bi erasure, considering just the absurd amount of bisexual and lesbian women in Fire and Blood is. Like, it's just absurd. But getting back to it, we just finished with what if Aegon the Conqueror kind of was basically Luz Theron Telamon, or a spirit guide to Jon Snow. Now we get Daemon Targaryen basically replacing Jon Snow and killing him in the crypt so he could steal his body and become king. Yeah. King. So very much we go. The delay's a mess. Yeah, and he just does. Yep, I'm going to be the new protagonist of this particular show, and you will not stop me. And I am not going to be nobody's mentor. I am going to completely take over my great something's grandson's body. And
The night.
Daemon Targaryen was reborn as Jon Snow. Let's explore the depths of it in the video. If you enjoy deep dives into Harry Potter or Star Wars, check out our sister channels, Half-Blood Theorist and Dark Theorist. Links are in the description. Caraxes' shriek fills Daemon's ears as they drop toward Vhagar. The bloodworm slams into his enemy and sinks his fangs into her throat. Daemon knows he's lost when Vhagar claws open Caraxes' belly, and her fangs tear off one of his wings. As the two dragons tumble toward the ground, clawing and biting, Daemon leaps from his saddle, Dark Sister in hand. Aemon tries to draw his own blade, but Daemon rips off his nephew's helm and drives Dark Sister into his nephew's eye and out the back of his throat. An instant later, they hit the water, and all becomes darkness. Daemon hears crying and a gasping woman, then a name, not his, barely heard and unrecognizable. Something else was in his mind, another will, weaker than his. It tried to push him back. Daemon fought back and crushed the other mind, asserting full control. He was trapped in the body of an infant. He's taken by a midwife and given to a northern-looking man. The woman whispers in the man's ear. Then the Northman takes him away. Daemon lets himself rest through the journey, often slipping into memories of Rhaenyra or Lena to keep himself from going mad. Others from his past life added their comfort. Some added motivation, like Otto or even his dotard brother. Daemon takes note of the lady with purple eyes. That's the man, Ned, he thinks is his name.
Daemon, wait, is a vile, disgusting demon. Yeah. Really, I didn't see that. Had to get people mountain. Yeah, we don't like Daemon for moral superiority. Yeah, because I was like, Daemon is an interesting one to explore. Unlike Aegon, Daemon works as would be more interesting if he is in the driver's seat messing with other people, and he would especially mess with Kat and hate her a lot. Like since Daemon, I don't think likes strong. He doesn't necessarily like women like Rhea Royce, and Catelyn is sort of like Rhea Royce in a way, and they would not get along, and he would be pissed at having like an authoritative mom figure who hates him like Catelyn Stark. And with this, there's actually a fun bit where our editor was looking over the script, and he was like, "Could you change the throat bit to back of the neck? Doesn't quite work anatomically." And so I just went, "That's actually what it says in the book." And I sent him a screenshot, and he's like, "Bruv, WTF? What are you? WTF? How does that even work?" So I was just like, "Yeah, it's what's in there." So I just exaggerated. So, but yeah, he's it says, yeah, we don't like it for we like him because he's active. Yeah. Hates what Ray represents. Yeah. I think that actually is a good point where he also hates that he's shackled to her, and is just hates the fact that he's shackled to a non-Valyrian woman. Yeah, she's a chain on him. Yeah. And Catelyn's kind of the same in a way.
Talks to. She was probably a Dane. Maybe she was his lady wife. No, not his wife. Old Flame, perhaps. She seemed sad as she accepted Dawn and turned away from the man carrying him. Daemon is taken north, unable to move.
Yeah, I wanted to have a little bit there where Daemon is trying to figure out information, is cataloging information, but he doesn't really have full context, but he's still seeing stuff. And I probably could have cut that out, but I just thought, let's put that in.
Slipping in and out of his memories. Another lady, this one with bright red hair, looks down at him with hate in her eyes when he realizes the woman was Ned's wife, and he was claiming Daemon as his bastard. The rogue prince grows interested. Who was he now? They kept calling him Jon, so perhaps his mind had been placed inside of the body of some baby. He had never heard of such magic, but where he had died, now he lived. Time passes, and Daemon slowly grows up. Yeah. Mostly he keeps to himself, avoiding Catelyn Stark, and...
She's a tomboy she's not really... From what I recall, in the original book, Rhaenyra is not really a tomboy. Her being a tomboy is a show invention, since if we look at Rhaenyra Targaryen, okay, so she's proud and stubborn. She was a precocious child. She was declared as the most beautiful woman in the Seven Kingdoms. She eventually kind of gained some weight. She always dressed witchily. Really liked bodice often glitter with pearls and diamonds. She loved rings, and whenever she was anxious, she would turn them compulsively around her fingers. So she's not really her being a tomboy is a show invention. So I think that he more has a taste for girly girls more than anything else, since Lena's kind of a girly girl. There's actually not emphasis on bit. There's barely any personality. I think that Rhaenyra is kind of the definition of kind of a girly girl who eventually kind of gets sick of things and puts on armor when she goes to claim the Iron Throne. So that's my thought, at least. Especially since it's kind of an image. The armor is very much an image thing more than anything else.
It is fine that he likes his half-brother Robb. He's a fighter, and he has none of Viserys' spinelessness. Is this what he would have been if his little brother Aegon had lived? Either way, Daemon quickly surpasses Robb using all the skills from his old life. He just has...
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I wanted to kind of put in here was this Daemon kind of thinking of one of the obscure bits where he had a little brother named Aegon who died after a year. And so I was like, yeah, let's just toss a bit in there, because I think that would actually fit these two guys fairly well, that dynamic. And Daemon would kind of be in an older brother type situation. Yeah. would really, and technically supersedes him. Yeah, that's a very good point. Where he's just kind of a prince. He's a prince, but he doesn't really have any authority. Okay, I think that he would hate it. Yeah, he's married to her, not the other way around. Yeah, I think that I agree with those points. I think that he wouldn't. Yeah, I think the marriage being arranged really, really hurts him, because he's just like, why can't I choose? I could probably have good taste, maybe. I think that I think kind of the funniest thing is I think that honestly, Viserys and Rhea Royce would get along a lot better, and that Aemma and Daemon would probably get along decently well. There's also the Valyrian supremacy deal, because we really don't know what Aemma Arryn looks like, but if we go with the idea that she has silver hair, he would be like, I like you.
To mold his new body to match his memories, he will often show Robb tricks, taking the lead in their lessons and acting as an older brother despite his body being very similar in age to the red-haired boy. Catelyn often glares at Daemon, but he just ignores her like he did Ray Royce, at least until he casually greets her in the hall. Instead of paying him even the smallest courtesy, Catelyn turns her nose up at him.
Looks like the soap I stole from your bath isn't working, Lady Stark. If I smell so bad that you've forgotten basic courtesy, you should get that checked. Or perhaps your scepter did a very poor job of teaching you manners.
Catelyn froze, back stiff as...
Yeah, this bit, I spent a lot of time just kind of figuring this out, getting it just right, where he just is just an ass. And I was just like, yeah, I want to just make this kid, make it clear this kid is a little asshole. Like, he is not, yeah, Alysanne didn't look, yeah, he looked, I think it's just he wants to breed dragon riders. Yeah, Alysanne didn't look traditionally Valyrian. Yeah, well, since, yeah, she's kind of just got honey blonde hair, from what I recall, as opposed to like silver hair. That's a weird thing that kind of is talked about, where the Valyrians have silver gold hair, but everybody just does platinum blonde. So there's kind of a weird distinction there. He's like honey blonde as opposed to this bit is like he has a right, which is something I hate, which is something I hate even more. Where he's like, and he just kind of just is perfectly polite. Nothing he's saying is technically rude. All he's saying, well, I guess the soap I also have blue eyes. Oh, okay. Let me check that. I think that does sound correct. The wiki is sometimes incorrect, but let me see. Alysanne Targaryen, bright, unremarkable, sweet voice, blue eyes and honey-colored curls. Yeah. Alaric warned her because she looked normal. Yeah. Yeah, though I do like the Naomi Botello image of them. I think that's so cute. I like that image. And had crow's feet. That's actually a good point. And he just said, "Oh, so I guess you're I must either smell really bad, or," and he's just messing with her in a way that she can't really retaliate.
The rod then slowly turned her cold eyes on Daemon. Rather than quail, Daemon grinned and cocked his head at as arrogant an angle as he could.
What did you say to me?
You heard me. Last I checked, you aren't deaf or dim-witted.
You are a most pert boy.
Would you rather I was born? That sounds miserable for the both of us. Why do you hate me? I've done nothing else to you. Yet.
Is that a threat?
Just an observation. You really should be kinder to people. You never know when your actions will have unpleasant consequences. You didn't answer my question.
I owe you no reason for why I despise you. Your existence is enough.
Oh, it's that I see. Is it that my father was unfaithful to you, or that I might steal this fly-specked castle in the middle of nowhere from Robb?
Catelyn stares at him, putting on a mocking smile. Daemon bows to the red-haired woman.
Lovely Lady Cat, I give you my solemn word that I shall not attempt to steal this singularly unappealing land from your son. He can keep it, and be welcome to it. I have bigger plans for myself. I look forward to seeing the look on your face.
Daemon walks past her, making sure to give her
I feel like I probably could have fixed that line to, I look forward to seeing the look on your face when I achieve them. And there's also a little bit here where he
look as he passes to rattle her further. Catelyn's mouth dropped. Daemon walks past her, making sure to give her a leering look as he passes to rattle her further. Catelyn's mouth dropped open at the boy's audacity. Then she grits her teeth and stalks off. As she does,
Oh, okay. And then yeah, she'd totally be like, okay, okay. Yes! She'd be like, yes! I need him to give me the Lord's kiss. Since one of the things I think it would be funny is if the ability to give good cunnilingus is something genetic in the Starks. I just think that would be hilarious. I just find that hilarious. Maybe I'm terrible, but I really like it. Kind of one of the things that I wanted to do here is just he is casually insulting Winterfell, since he would probably think it as bad as Runestone, because basically really boring, and he would hate it. So he's also just saying, I will not take this singularly unappealing land, and just is messing with Cat, and is just a complete dick, really, but he's still really, really funny. Okay. Feels so good at hiding. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's hilarious. That's cute. But yeah, and one of the things I also wanted Daemon to do is, in order to make him really uncomfortable, he just gives her a leering look, like he's checking her out, and she's just like, "What are you doing, boy?" What I hate, yeah, he's one of those people that he's just such an asshole, but he's so charismatic and entertaining though. And so he's just he's kind of like the Punisher, or another kind of anti-hero, where he's super charismatic, but he's such a bad person.
Daemon throws back his head and laughs. Perhaps he had found a new auto, and this time nobody could do anything. What more could they possibly do to him? One day, Maester Luwin teaches them about the Dance of Dragons. Daemon listens intently until Maester Luwin reaches the storming of the dragon pit.
It was a very dark day, my young friends. Unrest boiled over at the death of Queen Helena, and the shepherd incited a riot that led to the dragon pit being attacked. Thousands died, but in the end, the dragons were killed, and Dreamfire broke the roof as she tried to escape.
Those filthy bastards should have all died before the dragons.
Both Luwin and Robb stare at him. Daemon gets control over himself and tries to explain.
They were magnificent beasts. It just seems a shame that they all had to die.
Jon, the dragons were weapons of war that killed thousands. It is better that they died. What would the Mad King have done if he had possessed a dragon? Prince Rhaegar would have killed King Robert and your father on the Trident.
Daemon blinks. Then a few other lessons start to click. Robert Baratheon, killing Rhaegar Targaryen on the Trident. Aerys, killed by his own Kingsguard. And the Mad King's remaining children fled to the Free Cities. His line destroyed. But what of Rhaenyra and Aegon? He had to know. Once Luwin is sure Daemon isn't going to interject.
After Queen Rhaenyra's son Joffrey took her dragon and was tossed off to die, followed soon by Syrat herself, Rhaenyra fled to Dragonstone. There she was betrayed. Her brother Aegon had seized the castle and killed Baelor's dragon Moondancer with Sunfire. When she was dragged before him, Aegon had her burned alive and eaten in front of her.
No!
Luwin blinks as Jon slams his fists onto the table and glares at him.
No, this cannot be. You lie. She cannot have died in such a way. And the prince, did they kill him?
Jon, are you all right? You seem very agitated. Involved in the story, I take it. No, Aegon survived, though the throne eventually passed to Viserys and his line. The last remained of Aegon III's blood was the Blackfire Pretenders, who would eventually go to war with Daeron the Good, grandson to Viserys II. We'll pick up with this later, but allow me to discuss the regency of Aegon and the recovery of Viserys from Rhys.
Daemon blinks.
Yeah, so there's a lot. Displaying empathy for other people is weird. I suppose so. I think that he would at least be somewhat worried about the dragons, and he would be thinking, Rhaenyra was mine. I fought all of this. I fought so hard to keep her, to put her on the throne, and she died. And my son, who's an extension of myself, also, is he dead? So yeah, that was my thought, at least. And so it would kind of be like, what, my effort was done. But yeah, and Luwin would be like, Are you okay, John? What's going on? And he would, and so he would just try to fob him off and just lie through his
Stares at
teeth.
Lewin. His son Viserys had survived. He hadn't been killed. That was some relief. But his blood had gone to war with each other. That was no good thing. When he later inquired about the fate of the Blackfires, Daemon is disappointed to hear that they were gone or disappeared. After the lesson, Daemon walks to the practice yard, grabs a sword, and stalks to the Godswood. For a moment, he looks into the eyes of the weirwood. Then he starts hacking at the tree, just as he had in the one in Harrenhal. Soon, red chunks fly from the bark until someone places a hand on his shoulder.
John, what are you doing?
They killed them. They killed my family.
What are you talking about? You the blood of the Stark slut?
No, I am the blood of the dragon, and those traitors murdered my wife and my children.
Ned pulls back from him, eyes filled with worry. Daemon drops the sword and backs away.
This is the point where Ned sees, oh my gosh, my kid is nuts. Oh my goodness, my kid is insane. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, I guess he kind of just comes off as yeah, he probably doesn't is so enough to pass as a child. He probably just keeps to himself, but then just kind of doesn't think about it very much. But yeah, I didn't really consider that he just finally just gets fed up, and then he just starts hacking at the weirwoods because that's his main way of venting his frustration. And so I was just like, yeah, let's just do that. And as an episode like this might just be passed off as John B. John at this point. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, but I think Ned would be like, John, why are you attacking a weirwood? And then Daemon is going like, just lets it be, just unleashes himself, and he tries to lie and pass himself off.
I don't know what came over me.
John, is something wrong? You can tell me.
It's nothing really. It just seems wrong that all those people should kill the dragons, and it was so unjust what they did to Rhaenyra.
John, you said they murdered your wife and children. Are you seeing things?
Daemon looks at the man above him, then he spreads his hands.
Would you believe me if I told you?
I might, but if you don't tell me, you'll never know.
Well, I'm not Jon Snow up here. I'm Daemon Targaryen, rider of Caraxes, wielder of Darksister, former king of the Stepstones, and all the other titles history gave me. Rogue Prince is the one I like best, though.
Dead silence. Ned stares at him. Unadulterated shock in his face. Daemon simply leans against the tree and meets the older man's gaze. Finally, Ned breaks the silence.
You cannot be serious. This is a stupid joke that's gone too far.
Sadly, no. I'm trapped in the body of your son, which is rather awkward. Ugh. I hate this existence, but that's not exactly new for me. So, you believe me or not?
I have no idea what to think.
Well, I don't either.
Yeah, David Targaryen is kind of one of those people that's like, yeah, you don't know. Like they were like, I think that there would be some effect on it, and I'm like, no, you can't change Daemon Targaryen. If he when he dies at the point of the God's Eye, you cannot change this guy. Because he's functionally a 50-year-old man in an adult's body, and yeah, you just can't possibly change him. And so Ned is like, this kid is clearly insane. He and Stan should just sit down together. He's clearly like, oh no.
All I know is everything is quite fucked. My house is disgraced, a bloody Baratheon brute sits on my family's throne, and I'm trapped in the snows of Winterfell in the body of a bastard boy.
You're going to continue with this no matter what I say?
I could leave, save you some trouble and headaches.
No, you can't leave. You're my boy, even if you were someone from the past.
Well, that is very comforting. Your wife doesn't particularly like me, for no real reason other than being your bastard. And honestly, the feeling is mutual. While I do like Rob and Arya, there really is nothing for me here more than just lounge and getting bored out of my skull. To that end, I shall leave as soon as I get old enough.
Where will you go? The Night's Watch always has need of good...
A useless penal colony made up of the trash of the Seven Kingdoms. No, I think not. Haven't really decided just yet.
Yeah, he would totally just say, no, the Night's Watch trash. Why would I go there? And he would be like, no, I'm not going to the Night's Watch. That's stupid. And one of the things that I like about David is just he has no filter, and is just going to speak his mind, and most of it's going to be insulting. And so that's why I was just thinking, yeah, let's just make him a complete asshole. And even to Ned, there was one person that was saying, like I said, you would think that Ned would be able to rehabilitate it. And I'm like, no, I don't think that he would be able to. I don't think he would ever.
Somewhere I can make a name for myself. Maybe I'll look into seeing if there was some dragon or other who survived. Sheepstealer ran off somewhere. Maybe I'll find him. Quite like Nettles, she had a fire in her. I was sad when she had to run away.
Ned rubs his eyes and walks away, unwilling to continue this conversation, leaving Daemon
Yeah,
alone
he's like,
with
no,
the
I'm not
savage
doing what this
Hearttree.
crazy guy
Enjoying the
did.
story? You can listen to these on the go. Search Dark Theorist or Three-Eyed Theorist on your favorite podcast service. Links are in the description. Now, back to it. The years pass by slowly, and Daemon finds himself bonding more with Arya out of all the Starks. Robb was a good friend, but Arya reminded him of Nettles. Similar fierceness and drive, always wanting to buck trends and decorum, often looking into trouble together, and he teaches her how to fight. When the direwolf pups are found, Daemon hears a sound in his head, almost as if someone were calling to him. When he finds the albino away from his litter, Daemon picks up the cub and names him Snow. Something was different about this wolf. He meant to keep him. Once Snow is big enough to travel, Daemon decides it's time to finally go and say his goodbyes to Arya and Robb, gifting Arya a small sword before he leaves.
Well,
before
I did put the whole thing in there where they are honestly very similar. They're both creepy weirdos.
Daemon goes to the
Really
Godswood
right
to say his
down
final
to it.
goodbyes to this place. He had to get away from the north. He disliked the place just as much as he had Runestone. Honestly, being trapped in Winterfell with the red bitch Catelyn Stark as an authority figure was worse. At least he'd been able to leave Ray Royce where she belonged and simply enjoy other women. There was some fun to be had taunting her, but he just wanted to leave.
One thing is certain, I shall not be called Jon Snow. Horribly uninspired name. Is that really the best that Lord Stark could come up with? I shall be Daemon Darkfire only when I meet. Yes, that is a good name for me this time.
He missed.
Yeah, with this bit, I was just thinking, yeah, he is going to just be a like he's kind of just going to call himself Daemon Darkfire, because I was like, it's a mix of both Dark Sister and Blackfire, and oh yeah, that would be really interesting. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people think, yeah, he'd be Robert at best, worst Maegor. Yeah. Yeah, he's got a lot of bad elements to him for sure. And yeah, he would be pretty bad, honestly. Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Dark Sister and Caraxes. Where was the sword anyway? Surely it had to be somewhere. The blade at his hip was...
And he'd kind of like, yeah, he would kind of, at first, it would kind of be a lot like Otto. And I was like, I could have more chats between the two, but then I was like, nah, I need to get the plot moving. Yeah, it's the one thing I support. Yeah, Daemon would be pretty
about
bad.
as good as the smith. What was his name again? Mickon? Nothing was a match for Valerian steel. Perhaps he could find his old sword. Daemon says goodbye to the werewood. Then he sees a sword he knew very well inside the mouth of the tree.
It can't be. How?
He trails off when he sees a figure with nut-brown skin and yellow eyes disappearing into the trees. Daemon remembers seeing a green man while he was staying in Harrenhal, but a real child of the forest was another matter entirely. Daemon eagerly pulls Dark Sister free from the mouth, and is surprised to see a piece of bark with writing under the sword.
Prince Daemon, welcome back to the world of the living. I trust you will make good use of your blade. I have been keeping it safe until such a time as this for you to wield her again. You have been brought back at a crucial juncture. Go to Essos, find Daenerys Targaryen, bring the Winterfell eggs with you. The wolf as well. Your new blood has abilities that you did not possess in your previous life, and you will need the beast to accompany you. Daemon spins his sword through his fingers, feeling complete for the first time in his life, then sets off south with the Winterfell eggs in his bag. He knew the value of a clutch of eggs with a woman in whose veins flowed the blood of the dragon. He needed to find her and bring her back. After setting sail, he goes to Pentos, the place where the Targaryens had always gone when they needed somewhere to stay in Essos. Wondering if the Targaryen manse was still there, Daemon walks toward the place. As soon as he sees the red door, Daemon smiles and strokes the wood. He remembered this place so well. This was where Laena had given birth to Baela and Rhaena, where he and his lady had so many wonderful nights together, and days too, for that matter. And while they were there, she had been just as good as him at building ties with the Pentoshi and the Valentine against the Triarchy. Laena had been the perfect wife, Valerian, fiery, passionate, intelligent, loyal, totally unlike Ray Royce. And then she died. I miss you so much. Looking back on my life, you were the best of my lovers, Laena. You were never jealous. In fact, you loved bringing Rhaenyra to our bed. Why did you have to be taken from me? Why did Rhaenyra have to be such a jealous, easily manipulated?
He cut off when the door opened to allow a carriage to pass out of the house. Daemon leapt aside and narrowed his eyes at the covered vehicle. Snow raised his nose and sniffed the air, then nudged Daemon's hand.
Yeah, I did want to... Daemon still respects him, but he functionally treats him as an instrument. Yeah, that's actually a good point, where he's like, yeah, he just says there's a lot of work to be done. I trust you'll make good use of your blade. Because yeah, he might be his ancestor, but Daemon kind of functionally is one of the major pieces of why the Dance of the Dragons happens. Because Otto Hightower wants to try to keep things. He tries to change things, which he does. And functionally, it is what. And so I just was like, yeah, he would kind of treat Daemon as a peer, as opposed to what happens with Aegon. I can imagine, yeah, he would definitely just say, yeah, you're a blood instrument. I don't particularly like you, but you're useful. Yeah. Views, yeah.
Remembering Bloodraven's instructions, Daemon sat down and slipped into the wolf's mind, letting Snow run alongside the carriage, listening in on the conversation. After the inhabitants revealed themselves as Prince Viserys, Daenerys, and some magister named Illyrio that smelled of perfume and a hint of the pox, Daemon knows he's found his prize. There was a small problem.
This idiot is going to sell to the fucking Dothraki.
Yeah,
Is
he's
he
way
insane?
more patient.
Or is that
and
Magister playing him?
intelligent.
The
I would
Dothraki
agree
are
with
savages.
that.
If he brings them to the Seven Kingdoms, nobody will follow him. Something is amiss. Clearly, this Viserys is just like my brother, possibly worse. This boy is a petulant, soft weakling who has an inflated opinion of himself. Daenerys is the prize.
Yeah, which is kind of I do see the irony in Daemon thinking that he would be contemptuous of Viserys, and then he'd probably he would probably think possibly, yeah. I don't I don't know if Artorias is necessarily as intelligent necessarily, but he would definitely be I think he would kind of be like, yeah, I like him. And it's kind of too bad that we can't bring back certain OCs as often. We have to come up with a specific prompt. But yeah, I think there would be. I do think though Daemon, if he was this Daemon would like Artorias a lot more, even though Artorias is clearly mentally ill.
I must get her out of this.
As Snow follows the carriage to the other side of the city, he finds the Dothraki Khal already at the Magister's manse with a few of his blood riders. When Daenerys exits the carriage to meet with the Khal, he's immediately struck by how much she resembled Rhaenyra at that age. Daemon waits until they've returned to the manse with a red door and for the cover of night. After stealing a rope, Daemon climbs up the side of the walls, then sneaks into the manse. Finally, he hears the sounds.
I guess Rhaenyra might not. Fighting styles of magic would be functionally the same. Base himself on him. Yeah, Bloodraven. Yeah. I would actually agree with that to a certain extent. And yeah. And magic are very similar, though I think Artorias is a little bit more powerful than Bloodraven, just by virtue of the insanity that he's able to make happen versus Bloodraven. It's a little bit more simple.
Of quiet sobs coming from.
But yeah, I think there's probably some elements of Rhaenyra that are not similar because Rhaenyra is supposedly a little bit bustier than Daenerys. Daenerys is kind of described as a lot more slim, but I think he would just kind of be aching for that
Inside, after picking the lock, Daemon slides in. The girl immediately looks up and is about to cry out, but Daemon raises his hand.
It's all right, Princess.
Okay.
I'm not here to harm you. Quite the contrary.
That I really don't need to hear it. He's creepy. He is so freaking creepy. And he probably would.
Who are you? Why are you here if not to harm me?
I'm here because you're going to be married to a Dothraki Khal. I don't think you should be forced into such a match.
Or
if you would come with me, I could.
Well, just objectively, let's kind of just look at the descriptions. Like Dany is kind of a slim chick. described, whereas Rhaenyra is described as being a little bit more busty. That's just kind of how it is. Pity on a guy who will love it again.
Save you from being effectively his pillow slave.
So you mean to steal me for yourself? If you do, I'll scream.
Please don't. As for your
I really
question,
think the female voice actors did a really good job here. I really like how she does a good job with Dany and does a really good gamut range here. And Dame would be like, "Hey, just trying to get you out of here, kid."
Not exactly. I'm a distant relation. Daemon Darkfire is my name. A bastard cousin or something along those lines. And I have in my possession some things that you'll find most interesting.
Daenerys gasps when he shows her the 4 dragon eggs and bears a few inches of Dark Sister's blade. Casually, Daemon walks over to her and takes her hand.
Come away with me, Daenerys. You deserve better than this. You're a princess. You shouldn't be sold like a prize mare to a filthy barbarian.
But where would we go? The usurper's knives are everywhere.
There's a way to hatch these that we can use. Once they're grown, we can do whatever we want to anyone we choose.
You mean it? We could bring back dragons.
Indeed. Now, let's go, princess. I don't exactly have all night.
Are you going to bring my brother?
No, not happening. I don't have time to deal with a child in a man's body.
To his surprise, Daenerys puts her arms around his neck and hugs him tight. Daemon hands the dragon eggs to Daenerys and loosens Dark Sister in its scabbard. Right as they reach the walls, a group of guards run toward them. Daemon puts himself between Daenerys and the guards, then draws Dark Sister.
Yeah, I actually really want to just like chat with her, get her involved in the community, because I think that she's seems like she's got a really good voice. Yeah, Lena Headey occasionally. Yeah, those. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it happens. But yeah, and then we have just the little bit where he's just able to just get her on side, because I think that he would just kind of be able to and just say, "Hey, come on, we got to leave. I can get you away from your abusive brother," and he just says, "No, I'm not dealing with your brother. No, we're not bringing him. Never. I'm not dealing with him. I have no room for bunglers," which is one of my favorite lines from the Redwall TV series season 1.
The old lust for battle rose inside him, and there was something else, a rage inside him that he hadn't experienced before. Bloodraven told him about this body having abilities that Daemon hadn't had last time. Grinning, Daemon charges forward and slides through the spears of the unsullied guards. Daenerys gasps as his sword goes through the neck of one of the eunuchs. Then his knife takes the other in the eye. Right as the unsullied fall, a pair of other guards rush toward him, yelling about an intruder stealing the princess. Daemon twirls Dark Sister through his fingers, then lazily points at them.
Eager to die? Come on, let's see if you're a challenge.
The 2 men attack in tandem. Daemon deflects one sword, then the other before delivering an
Super
overhand blow
edgy
on the guard's
asshole.
arm. Dark Sister's blade
That's just
strikes the
plain
poor
stupid
fool's
hard
blood
out,
as greedily as she had the crab feeders. Yelling in pain, the man clutches at the severed arm before Daemon surgically nicks the opponent's windpipe, causing him to choke and fall. Seeing his companion die, the other guard runs away. Satisfied with his performance and not terribly eager to wait for more, Daemon cleans off his sword and turns back to Dany, her eyes wide in a mixture of fascination and a bit of fear.
Who are you?
Daemon Darkfire, as I said before. If you're looking for more specifics, I'd wait until we're safe, since it's a rather long story. That satisfy your curiosity for the time being, princess?
Daenerys swallowed and nodded. Daemon took her hand and led her.
Yeah, slight mistake here. I mixed the mixed the tenses, sadly, and that was a slight error on my part. Whoops. I put past tense in there when I should have put present tense. And she would be like, "Oh my gosh, who are you?" And since one of the things about Daenerys that isn't necessarily as in the TV show, it's that she loves bad boys. She really has a weakness for bad boys. Since that's kind of the funny thing, that a lot of the Targaryens are kind of bad boys in a way. Like Daemon Blackfire, bit of a bad boy. Maegor, charismatic ladies man and bad boy. Since him and Alice Haraway probably get along really well. Then you have Brandon and Alice said, "All right, which one of you two decided to saddle me with this demented psycho?" That's actually very, very good point. Since functionally Daemon is he is definitely the demented psycho. Yeah. He's a fun demented psycho. Discovery requires experimentation. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I love that. I love that. That's so funny.
to where the rope was tied. Once he'd given her some instructions and handed her a pair of gloves so that she wouldn't burn her hands. Both of them rappel down to the ground. Daemon goes first, so that way if Daenerys slipped, he could catch her. It was fortunate that he did. Despite having a terrified grip on the rope, her foot slips and she falls. Daemon braces himself and puts his arms out to catch her. He lets out a grunt when she falls into his arms, straining his back.
Ow.
Did I hurt you? I'm so sorry.
No, I'm quite all right, princess.
Taking her by the hand, both of them flee into the night.
Yeah,
and
originally
Lyra
there
finds
was,
out that
originally there was a little bit with her just giving him a kiss, and he likes it. And then I just kind of Boba took it out because he was like, "This is like the stupid like Conan novels. I hate this. It removes her of agency." And I'm like, yeah, I guess it should have been kiss on the cheek. Sorry, whoops. You know, I'll start believing in that just said you do this.
Call's bride and his main bargaining ship has been stolen. He immediately sends out men to pursue them. Rather than taking the ship that he'd come in, Daemon hops on a ship heading for Dorne. North was not where he wanted to go, and if you remembered the political layout, that was likely the main place that would be amenable to revenge on the Baratheons and Lannisters. As they're ensconced in their cabin, Daemon and Daenerys sit down to talk. Daenerys asks him more about his story. Instead of telling her who he actually was, since she'd likely think him insane, Daemon tells her about his life in Winterfell, leaving out very few details. She's most surprised when he tells her that he's Ned Stark's son, but he quickly assures her that he has no loyalty to the usurper or the Starks, only to her and the rightful kings of Westeros.
Then why not swear to my brother? He's the rightful king.
Because your brother is a cretin, who I would sooner gut than serve. You obviously don't like him, otherwise you would have objected. Also, he's an idiot. Selling a prize such as you to the Dothraki is insanely stupid. They're not reliable, and would not be his obedient soldiers. And in the unlikely event that he actually brought them into the Seven Kingdoms, the whole realm would turn on him to drive them out. He'd be despised by everyone.
Oh. Illyrio told me that the people cry out for the king to return. Was he lying then?
Undoubtedly. There may be a few loyalists scattered throughout, but not enough to really make a difference. I shall have to determine who might support your claim. But for now, I know for certain the Dornish despise the current state of affairs.
So, do you plan on marrying me, making yourself king?
This had to be navigated carefully. Daenerys wasn't stupid. She had good instincts. That much you could see. She would likely see through it. So, best to be upfront with her.
Honestly, the thought appeals to me greatly. Why wouldn't it? But more important than that, I want you. I'd want you if you were a farmer's daughter and not a Targaryen princess.
Daenerys blushed and put her hair behind her ear. Daemon took her hand and kissed it, causing her to flush slightly.
That is, if the future queen would consent to wed a bastard from the north.
Her hand caresses his face as she pulls him into a kiss. When they arrive in Dorne, Daemon makes sure to keep Daenerys' hair hidden so they could pass unnoticed. Together, they walk through Sunspear until they reach.
Yeah, so this is basically like, yeah, he is wanting to bring back. So the plot requires that he brings back dragons, and he's going to have to do some gross. Daemon's got a Daemon and do some gross stuff. And yeah, Daemon's got a Daemon, and yeah, he's a creep, a giant creep. I asked Mr. Groggy about it, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so weird." He's like, I just asked, "How weird would it be if this happened?" He's like, "Unbelievably weird." Weird. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Seems like that was something David would do. So I was like, yeah, let's probably do that. And yeah, so we just have a little bit where she's like, all right, we have a little bit of a strategy meeting, I guess, where he's like, yeah, the you're not going to have any help from anybody else. And he also basically badmouths them and is just blunt and unsophisticated, and just tells her what he's thinking, as well as kind of brings up. So it's one of the things that, well, Daemon would understand, at least. Yeah, if you bring the Dothraki over, nobody is going to like you. You're going to likely piss off everyone, and that's not he would be like, no, do not bring the Dothraki. The Dothraki are unreliable assholes who would not be effective. And so definitely just wanted to put that in there, where you would kind of assess the strategy, kind of since he's from an outside perspective and sees, all right, something is up here. They're not actually intending on helping him. This is a what they're doing is dumb. And if we're doing it from a purely strategic point of view.
To the palace to request an audience with Prince Doran and his brother.
My princess, I would like to offer you what you have long desired. And what is that, young man? You have something in your pack, but what could it be? Gold, jewels, vengeance, fire, and blood.
Both of the princes of Dorne tilt their heads as Daemon opens his pack and pulls out a dragon egg. Dorne quickly dismisses their guards and ushers the two of them into a private solar.
Where did you get that? Are you a thief? Oh, yes, but not the eggs. What I actually stole was a Targaryen princess.
Both princes blink as Daenerys pulls back her hood to reveal her silver hair and purple eyes. Daemon bows and gestures to the princess.
May I present to you the Princess Daenerys of House Targaryen? This is an incredible find. Welcome to Dorne. We had hoped to marry your brother to my daughter. Perhaps...
Sad to say, I'm already his wife. Sorry about that, but I decided after nearly being sold to a cult that I would choose who I'm with.
That was very ill done, lad. Sorry, but when a beautiful princess asks you to marry her, who am I to say no? But either way, my mother was a dragon seed, so I have a bit of dragon's blood myself. How? Who exactly are you? Ned Stark's illegitimate son, Daemon Darkfire. He kept my mother's name a secret, since likely King Robert would have killed me for the sin of my bloodline. So you expect us to believe that you're the son of some bastard daughter of the Mad King or Rhaegar Targaryen? Well, yes. Since I'm going to hatch these eggs and claim one dragon for my own while Daenerys takes the other.
Dorne and Oberyn's jaws drop. Then the Red Viper starts laughing. Daemon rolls his eyes in irritation, but he doesn't interrupt the prince's mirth.
Oberyn and... I probably should have had more stuff with Daemon and Oberyn because they're very similar people. Quentin Martell and Oberyn, since I don't think that they would like each other, since Quentin Martell's kind of a frog. Kind of not really intelligent. He's not very special. There's a whole fan fiction where they do get married, and she's sleeping with Daemon Sand because she's actually likes Daemon Sand, since she can't be with Jon or Jaehaerys in that version. He never finished it, which is kind of a shame because I was interested in seeing where it went. He's a good boy, but he's kind of feels entitled to Dany. He's kind of got a few ideas about chivalry that aren't necessarily accurate. And kind of with this, Daemon's trying his best and arguing with Mr. Oberyn, but he's ultimately able to at least somewhat say, hey, give me a chance, I can do it. And he can, but there's still an element of, this kid, it is kind of this kid, it has some, they're like, this kid's nuts, but maybe we'll entertain it somewhat for right now. And Damon would be like, ugh. He would, being laughed at, I think in a lot of ways, Damon's sort of similar to Tywin in that if he can handle laughing at other people, but other people not taking him seriously, he's kind of the definition of, we demand to be taken seriously. Oh yeah, probably. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. He comes up in the title, but he's afraid to take a no for an answer. Yeah, that's a good point.
You are mad, my boy. I like that. But how are you going to do this? Summerhall attempted this exact thing, but Aegon the Unlikely failed miserably, and with him died most of House Targaryen. Wait and see, my princess. I have the means, and it shall be done as soon as a child is born to me and my wife. I shall simply need to make use of as hot a furnace as you can get hold of. If you can back up your wild boasting with...
Yeah, this bit, my ego is bruised. I'll have to burn. Yeah. But this bit, I'm like, I kind of screwed up the timeline a little bit. I guess it was just kind of sharpshooter deal and kind of just making it so it's a few months. And so I will fully admit that I probably felt the timeline just a bit.
Results, boy. Then we will support Daenerys' claim. If not, then you will both leave. I will not risk the safety of Dawn upon the word of a liar.
Appreciating that he was at least being listened to, Daemon inclines his head and departs. After a few weeks, Daenerys misses her blood, and Daemon is excited. Not just that dragons would come back, but also that he would hold a child of his own. While they wait, Daemon takes time to impart as much useful information about statecraft and warfare to Daenerys. He wanted her to be his partner, not just his consort. Each piece of information is consumed and applied in various hypotheticals. When he gives birth to a daughter, Daemon places the egg in a furnace. With the shells weakened and the call of a dragon mother giving birth reaching out to them, the 3 eggs crack open, disgorging 3 hatchlings. Daemon can't help but feel a little smug when he glances at Oberyn and Doran's stunned faces as he picks up a red hatchling and hands Daenerys a silver one. Now that the dragons have hatched, Oberyn and Doran pledge their support. Daemon stays with Daenerys until she's recovered, but once he's sure she and the baby will be all right, Daemon plans to go to the capital to get a feel for the realm's disposition. When he says goodbye, Daemon feels protective of his wife and their child. Taking a long breath of her perfume, Daemon strokes Dany's cheek as she leans her head against his. As he does, she takes his hand.
Who are you really? You have to be more than what you appear to be.
Yeah, with this, it's very much she's trying to figure out who he is, since he's a little bit too warm of a different way. That's all the truth I know. I like that. But she would definitely be going, you are way too competent. What is going on here? And he's like, okay. And he just decides to keep lying because he knows, yeah, if I tell her, she's going to be freaked out.
A bastard from the north who applied himself well to what he wanted.
No, you're just that. There's something more about you. You seem to know so much. And the way you fight. My brother often said Rhaegar was the greatest swordsman he'd ever seen. But you are clearly a match. You seem to know all about politics, how to maneuver people.
I suppose I should let you know. So, promise that you believe me, and I'll tell you.
Dany inquisitively nods, and Daemon takes her hands.
So, from the moment I was born, I have had all the memories of Daemon Targaryen in my...
Yeah, I may have made Daemon slightly worse than he actually is by accident, but I was just thinking, yeah, he is just so much, so awful.
I had all his skills, all his knowledge. It's all up there. Last time Daemon failed to protect his queen. This time will be different. You're going to be the queen, Dany. You will sit the Iron Throne, and I will make that happen.
Daenerys leans forward and kisses him, stroking his arm and his cheeks. Sighing, Daemon puts his hand on her waist. He didn't want to leave, but he had to. Reluctantly, Daemon caresses her face and then stands up. Before he leaves, Daemon strokes Snow's head and looks down at the wolf.
Keep her safe for me, boy. Be my eyes so I can see her.
Yawning, Snow pads over to Dany and nuzzles her.
I had a weird idea that he just... I did have a kind of an idea that I didn't end up putting in the script because of word count, where he just will periodically warg into Snow/Ghost. It'll just check on Dany periodically, and basically almost like he's their baby. He's the baby monitor.
Her hand, causing her to smile, though it hits a hint of sadness. Daemon says goodbye to Caraxes, his red dragon.
Yeah.
Then he goes on his ship.
He would totally
when he disembarks, Daemon listens to the conversations in Feebottom.
He would totally
gets a sense of the realm. He's most interested
like
when he hears Ned is the new hand. That could have some good opportunities. Not wanting to alert anyone to his presence, Daemon slips into the Red Keep through Maegor's passages. Initially, he considers going to Ned, but he wants to see an old friend first. It takes some time to find his first mount's skill among the other dragons, but he recognizes his champion's shape. Closing his eyes, Daemon runs his hand over all that remained of the bloodworm.
You deserve better than this, old friend. You should be near the Iron Throne, the greatest of your kind.
Jon? Is that you? How are you here? I thought you'd gone off to Essos.
Daemon frowns as Arya.
The device, you'd probably be able to lock him up and keep everyone safe. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Why didn't you send him to Stannis? You'd probably be able to lock him up and keep everyone safe. Yeah. But yeah, and I think that he would actually, I think that Daemon would actually like Arya to a certain extent. We miscalculated our father's effectiveness. But they're like, yeah, we thought our dad could keep him contained. Turned out we were incorrect. I am mistaken. I am surprised. If I am not mistaken, we are not being surprised. And he just goes, yeah, we what is wrong with him? Yeah, multiple things. Clearly. But I do think that Daemon would like, since he had a tomboy in the form of Bela, and he also liked Nettles, who is also kind of a tomboy. So I think that him and Arya would be people that would get along. And I think that on the subject of our new VO actress, I think her Arya is pretty much spot on, pitch perfect. I can't think of a better Arya voice, honestly. It's almost pretty much identical to Vova's with the voice changer. And she's getting better. She's getting better. Stupid. Remember that, unlike you two, I am physically stuck down here and actually have to deal with the consequences. Or he's just their long-suffering employee. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love that. That's hilarious. Is extremely close to Maisie Williams. Yeah, it's pretty much pitch perfect.
Leaps at him and flings her arms around him.
Oh yeah, little sister. What brings you down here?
Chasing cats. Sirio says that you have to think quick to catch cats. Makes you a better water dancer.
A water dancer, eh? That's perfect for you. And that needle of... Shush. Someone's coming. In here, quickly.
Arya nods and hides inside Balerian's skull with Daemon. Sounds of talking proceed. Fat men frantically talking.
Why the hell didn't you come here sooner? You think it's easy trying to explain things to that fucking barbarian Khal Drogo? Whoever stole Daenerys vanished off the face of the earth. He just came in, killed my guards, and stole her. No description? Nothing? Nothing. He's a ghost. I shall find him then. Surely Daenerys shouldn't be too hard to locate. But where would he have taken her? How was the call taking it? Very badly. I was able to come here only now after some very, very arduous and fraught negotiations. Viserys didn't do himself any favors. So much that the Khal killed him for being irritating. And you weren't able to stop that? Sadly, no. But to be fair to the Khal, he was a singularly aggravating person. What about Aegon? Is he at least safe? Yes, I made sure to send him and Connington to Myr. Drogo will soon invade. All he needs, the ships. Too soon. Damn it. I'm working on getting the wolf and the lion at each other's throats, but the wheels are turning more slowly than anticipated. The dwarf has been taken by Catelyn Stark. That much has gone well. But if the Khal attacks too soon, that means he'll be facing a united realm rather than one torn by war.
Yeah, one of the things that I like doing with these people is that, and I use this also in the Ned and Robert going off as sellswords video, where we, rather than having just a dump in narration, we have a much more succinct summary of it by having Illyrio and our good friend Illyrio and the spider talking about it. And I felt like this would be a perfect opportunity where we have a summary of what happened to Viserys, as well as make it funny, where he's like, he was so irritating that the Khal killed him. Really, you couldn't prevent that? In fairness to the Khal, he was really, really annoying. And I just love and they're just trying to figure it out where, okay, he's gone, we have to figure things out. And now Daemon is like, oh, pray.
And places his hand on Arya's shoulder, then takes her hand and presses it to the ground. Arya pats his hand in understanding that he wanted her to stay put. Daemon draws Darksister and advances towards the two fat men. Before Illyrio can do anything, Daemon hamstrings him. Then he slams Darksister's pommel into Varys' head twice. The cheesemonger drops to the ground, squealing like a pig in heat as he clutches his leg while Varys slumps gracelessly to the ground.
Oh, shut up, you. I haven't hurt you much yet. Who the fuck are you? Someone who's interested in your plans, especially when they involve my wife. You were the one who took Daenerys. Oh, yes, I did. Now, kindly go to sleep for me.
Daemon knocks the merchant unconscious. When he picks up their torches, he glances at Arya, who is staring at him in amazement.
How did you do that? You were almost as fast as Sirio. You have to teach me how to do that.
I shall have to meet this Syrio one of these days. Maybe tomorrow. Don't worry, I'll show you how. But I need some help. Get Jory and Harwin down here. These rotund gentlemen have a few questions to answer. Actually, bring Fat Tom as well. We're likely to need 2 per man.
Wait, that's a spider. The King's Master of Whispers. But what did you mean about the cow and the dwarf? And the wolf and the lion? And what's that about you being married? You didn't tell me about that.
So many questions, little sister.
Yeah, it's better than this when this idiot pillowcase. Yeah, that was kind of one of those bits where it's like, yeah, the I didn't know that Epic existed at the time. I don't think that I wrote this. I hadn't heard of Epic the musical at the time, but yeah, it's very much Bran is extremely pragmatic, very, very, very lacking in empathy, and would just say, all right, King's Landing's probably going to have to blow up, especially since the King's Guard are going to die, since Jaime Lannister's not there. But we'll talk about that when we get to Ned Reborn and Robert Reborn later this week, because those are my 2 Reborns, and I did very different things with them. Both of which I'm very proud of, but for different reasons. Ned was more dramatic and Robert's was more funny. Though I think that Robert and Rhaegar Reborn is actually even funnier.
All will be revealed, I promise. The King's Spymaster, eh? That is interesting. Suffice it to say, Arya, these 2 are plotting against us. I think we should thwart them. What do you say?
Arya nods enthusiastically and runs off up the stairs. Daemon sits down next to them and waits for Arya to bring some of their father's guards. Once she brings the men down, Daemon has them dragged into a pair of secret cells that only very few had known about, even in this time. Once they've been chained up by their wrists, Daemon instructs the men to keep this quiet, especially Fat Tom, who was known to gossip when he got drunk. Jory and Harwin chuckle at that one, while Fat Tom has a good belly laugh. Now that he has them secured, Daemon goes to find his father. As soon as he enters, Ned looks up and narrows his eyes.
You? Yes, me. I see you've finally gotten the reins of power, father.
Yeah, so this bit, I really was excited because my thought process with this whole scene is Daemon and Ned would not get along at all. And we're going to have little bits and pieces where it's like Ned goes, "You are depraved." And it's like, yes, I am. Don't really care. But yeah, Damon's a bad person for sure. And yeah, he's and he would not get on with them. But I think one of the things that I did want to put in here is that he would kind of get along with people like Fat Tom, since Daemon actually kind of has the common touch where he gets along with the Gold Cloaks and he gets along with quite a few other people that are kind of common born people. He would actually, and I was just thinking like that Fat Tom joke he would get along well with Jory and that sort of lot, because that's kind of his thing. Like he's able to inspire his men in a similar way to Stannis, even though he is very much not the sourpuss that Stannis is. And we also have his relationship with Arya, where she's actually able to feed him some critical information that he needs about Varys before he ever starts cutting chunks off. And then we get the clash of ideals between Ned Stark and Daemon Targaryen.
I hope you've been using them wisely. Well enough. Robert has been... Wait, why am I telling you this? You should be the one explaining where you've been. My charming personality generally gets people talking, I presume. Well, since the full story is quite long, I'll sum it up. I rescued and married Daenerys Targaryen, your now grandfather, by the way, and I have brought back dragons. You're jesting with me, aren't you? Well, I am Roe Prince. I do like jokes, but this is deadly serious. Oh, and the spider was trying to pit you against Tywin Lannister alongside his partner, Illyrio Montpentis, to set the Dothraki loose for some unknown purpose. And how do you know this, pray tell? Oh, I have them in the Black Cells, and I'm going to start cutting bits off until they talk. You're actually serious. Isn't Daenerys best that you not think about that, Ned? You're just going to make yourself sick. You're depraved. Indeed. But
yeah, that's what it is.
That you not think about that, Ned? You're just going to make yourself sick. You're depraved. Indeed. But anyway, we need to make our plan.
Yeah, I had to put that joke in because he's like, isn't Daenerys... Don't think too hard about it, Ned. You're just going to make yourself sick. And that probably goes for the audience as well. But also, he's like, Ned would not believe him initially. And then he finally realized, oh, you're completely serious. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Especially since Davos like worships the ground Stannis walks on. It just ultimately is very interesting. Where Stannis, ironically, he doesn't inspire love of the common of the nobility because he's obnoxious and disliked. And I wanted to include that, whereas I'm obnoxious and disliked, whereas you're not. In the Renly and Stannis Reborn fic. But I had to cut out, sadly, since I quite like that line from 1776. I'll have to put that in somewhere. Richard Thorpe loves Stannis. Davos loves Stannis. Gilbert Faring loves Stannis. And that's basically it. Yeah. It's like his immediate underlings appreciate just how willing he is to muck in with his troops. But yeah, here we're kind of getting Daemon getting to interact with the plot as a very, very, very important piece of these proceedings, and getting to annoy Ned, because he would totally annoy Ned, and it is so funny.
And part of their scheme has already worked. Your wife has abducted Tyrion Lannister. That I already knew. The Night's Watch brother told me. Ah, fantastic. That acts as verification. See, we're working together already. What do you want? Oh, the usual. Power, influence, my wife on the Iron Throne, that sort of thing. Your friend is a terrible king, which you likely already know. Lazy, mainly. Much like my brother, Viserys, but worse. Hopefully, you can see that my ends drastically benefit yours. There's something wrong with you. People keep saying that. I may actually start believing them, but not today. Are you going to accept my help or not? Honestly, I need all the help I can get. Baelish has been helping me. Wait, Littlefinger? The man who wants to fuck your wife? Why does your mind automatically go there?
because all greedy men, especially men,
Yeah, I honestly love doing the Ned as this long suffer, just saying, this I hate. He's just like long suffering. I hate you so much. And just would be, this is so horrible dealing with you. Why are you like this? And he and the since that's kind of the thing about Mr. Heartbreaking, the worst person you know has just made a great point.
men who brag about claiming a lady's maidenhead and about her, be very careful about what you say next. Assets isn't just their friend, and there's no reason for him to help you. In fact, he has motive to kill you, so he can curry favor with the Lannisters and then steal her. You have an incredibly cynical mind. Thank you. I've worked hard to become so. Life is infinitely easier this way, so we have a great deal.
Yeah, I wanted to put that little line in since I really like that. Since one, I like that line from Princess Bride where I quite like the line from Princess Bride. Thank you. I've worked hard to become so, but I also like the what is it? Where is it? There's a little bit here somewhere. There's a little bit somewhere. Right here, actually.
Everyone who isn't us is an enemy, big brother. Oh, they smile and
Yeah.
bow, but the only thing that really keeps them in line is the fear of fiery death raining down on them. You're a rather cynical person, you know that, right? Thank you. I've worked hard to become so.
With their plan to engage Balon to Lyanna in place, Viserys decides to.
Yeah, so it was no, it was the when he Viserys' stillborn son Balon survived. That was how I used it last time, though. Since I just figured, yeah, I got to use that line since Daemon is a cynical person, and you would just say, life is infinitely easier that way. I probably should we try to kill each other like civilized men? I love quoting Princess Bride at certain points. And I think that since the rumor of Littlefinger having sex with Cat is pretty rampant to the degree that Tyrion hears about it, so Daemon would probably be able to quickly pick up on it. And there is kind of a line where in Game of Thrones where he does boast about Catelyn's ripe breasts, and where supposedly Mr. Baelish talks about Catelyn's ripe breasts and the sweetness between her legs. Oh yeah, for sure. It's a series of great one-liners. My wife, you know how I love I watching you work, but I have my wedding, my country's 500th anniversary plan, right? My wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and Gilda to pray for it. I'm swamped. Get some rest. If you don't have your health, then you don't have anything. I need to use that honestly because I think it would be very amusing. But yeah, he would just be like, yeah, Baelish is a problem. He wants to have sex with your wife. Yeah. Some parts are really, yeah, like I think the most like one hand writing bit is the whole chapter with Arion and Eris Oakheart, where it is just page after page just describing Ariane. And she's just naked the whole time. And yeah, he's typing with his feet while he's got two hands of the on the stick. But yeah, yeah, and that's the most like erotica porn that he's ever written. At least I feel same with Cersei and Taena. Even though it's kind of rapey, there's still like an element of this is creepy. This is like a little bit perverted, where it's kind of like meant to be kind of arousing while also being really creepy.
Deal we need to get ahead of. My talents are at your disposal. You're going to insert yourself, whatever I say. Keep an eye on Baelish and get what you can out of Varys. I'll have you as my guard at the small council so you can assess the information presented.
Daemon grins and inclines his head. After Ned tells him what's happened with Tyrion, Daemon surmises that they had been set up, especially since Varys had been involved in giving silent approval to what the Master Coin had said. This Littlefinger would have to die, probably slowly. When Ned presents the knife, Daemon takes the weapon and looks at it. Ned tilts his head and asks if Daemon recognizes it.
From a long time ago, my brother carried this.
One of the things that I wanted to do is illustrate throughout this that Daemon is just clinically thinking about murdering people. He is not he's just casually thinking about murdering Littlefinger, probably slowly, and just kind of while also putting together bits and pieces. And with this, I did want to kind of bring in the bit of the dagger is good old Viserys's, and bring in a little bit of the prince who was promised, but also he would be like, nah, prophecy's stupid. And there's kind of a also continuing with my little running joke that I have where if I'm not going to include the White Walkers, I'm going to deliberately diss prophecy, which I do frequently. I did in the Oberyn Martell video. I did it in the Robert Reborn video, and a few others.
Stupid thing about talked all about the Song of Ice and Fire. Ridiculous nonsense, really. Always hated it when he did that. Wait, I've heard that before. What is it? Oh, some stupidity about a threat from beyond the wall. From my blood shall come the prince who was promised. Supposedly Aegon had this prophetic dream that motivated him to unite the realm. I suspect a more prosaic motive, as you often do. What if it's real? I've never believed in prophecy, Ned. I'm not starting now. There is only the here and now, and people trying to predict the future don't understand what matters. Power and legacy. You sound like Tywin Lannister. I've gained and lost both. I'm not doing so again. This time I will not fail. Might I keep this? I imagine you need both hands for ice if you get into a fight.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to put the comparison between these two people, that Tywin Lannister and Daemon Targaryen are very, very similar people. And since a lot of the time they're going to think very similarly. And so I just put, yeah, Daemon Targaryen is going to think a lot like Tywin is going to be obsessed with power and legacy, which he kind of is, which puts him in direct contrast to Ned.
Ned grudgingly gives his...
He would still want Valyrian steel, and he would make a joke about Ned having ice and having a slightly larger sword that he can't use a knife with.
Sent, and Daemon straps it to his belt opposite Darksister. At the next small council meeting, Robert is present. Daemon's eyebrows rise as he stands behind Ned when the king starts ranting about needing to find Daenerys Targaryen now that Viserys has turned up dead. It was possible that she was somewhere in Essos, possibly Volantis or Lys, where she could be impregnated with a dragon-spawn baby. Daemon finds it very difficult not to laugh at the irony and holds his hand over his mouth to conceal a smile.
Something funny, lad.
Your Grace has a way with words. It's not hard to find it amusing.
You sure this is your son, Ned? He doesn't talk like you.
I've often wondered how he turned out this way despite my best efforts.
In any case, we need to find it.
My girlfriend actually found that bit particularly funny where he's like, yeah, I've always wondered why he turned out like this despite my best efforts. Yeah. And, but yeah, just this whole scene is Daemon going, I know something you don't know, suckers. And just and he's just thinking, yeah, and then he just tries to redirect Robert away.
Where's Varys anyway? Fucking eunuch should be here to do his spying thing. Do you find everything funny, boy?
As I said, Your Grace, you have quite a way with words. I'm simply appreciating your wit.
Well, I suppose I'll take that as a compliment. I may actually like it, Ned.
Ned's mouth twists as Daemon smirks. Daemon listens closely to the proceedings, carefully controlling his expression. No talk of Catelyn taking Tyrion is brought up, but Daemon knows that eventually that particularly ugly chicken would come back to roost. Often he'll play with Dark Sister's pommel, wondering when it would strike. Ned is about to resign when Robert talks about hiring assassins to find and kill Daenerys, but Daemon heads his father off.
Your Grace, I spent a bit of time in the Free Cities and heard a rumor about a silver-haired girl being wed to some Khal Drogo or some such. She's likely the
And
Dothraki seed.
one of the things I wanted to do is kind of like, yeah, there is that joke in the show where he gets Kristen Cole's name wrong. But I thought, oh, okay, let's just make him deliberately get Khal Drogo's name wrong to throw Ned off, to throw Robert off, and just kind of just say, hey, and he's ultimately just kind of playing with everybody's perception, where he's just saying, yeah, she's here, and telling another person, oh, she's here, because he knows he's just kind of using Daenerys as a very, very valuable bargaining chip. Even though he's and just utilizing the fact that he knows that she's a very prized game piece to disorient and hurt his foes, which I thought would be a clever tactic to utilize.
By now. Perhaps that is where you should search first, though Volantis might be a good option. If you do intend to kill her, you'll need to be very careful to succeed on the first try.
Robert latches onto this, ordering Littlefinger to find men willing to do this, and puts a bounty on Daenerys. Ned gives Daemon a hard look. Casually, Daemon leans on a pillar and continues to watch. After the meeting, Littlefinger invites Ned to see a brothel that had been visited by Jon Arryn. Daemon narrows his eyes and offers to investigate for his father. Despite his wariness of Daemon's intentions, Ned agrees and has him go with Littlefinger. The Master of Coin attempts to make small talk, which Daemon obliges. He would eventually cut this man to pieces, but he could be polite until then. By the time they reach the brothel, both men are exchanging jokes as fast as sword strikes. After looking over the bastard Bara and speaking with her young mother, Daemon starts remembering a few things. Alan and Adam of Hall looking like the Valerians, and then Rhaenyra's children all looking like Harwin Strong. Daemon hands back the child.
Yeah, so with this, I was just thinking, my thought process was just that Daemon would kind of, since one of the odd things about the whole Rhaenyra situation is that it is very much mirroring Cersei, and the whole the 3 illegitimate kids deal. And my thought was, okay, he would be able to figure it out and kind of put that connection together. And so that's what I was kind of thinking along those lines. And so you would also kind of be at least cordial with Littlefinger and be able to just say, hey, yeah, I know you're an ass, but I'm willing to be cordial. I'll kill you later. Daemon marrying Cersei would be nightmarish. How so? I think that it would be kind of funny, especially if he looks, especially if Cersei, I think that he would actually like, I think it would, like, if Daemon got transported, like just completely transported into the future and married Cersei, I think that she would actually be fine with it. And I think that Cersei would be okay with it too, because Daemon's probably pretty good in bed, and that's one of her main qualifiers.
To her mother. Then Jory rushes to him and tells him that there are Lannister men outside, led by Jaime Lannister. Daemon narrows his eyes at the mention of the man who'd killed Aerys. Perhaps this was his chance to avenge his bloodline. With every appearance of arrogant nonchalance, Daemon leans on a windowsill and calls down.
Good afternoon, Kingslayer. I didn't think one of the Kingsguard frequented these kinds of places in broad daylight. Bad for the image, but your father essentially owns the realm, so maybe you can get away with it. You have quite the mouth on you, boy. Where is my brother? No idea. Sorry about that. He was taken by Captain Stark. She wouldn't have acted without Ned Stark's approval. Could it be possible the Red Bitch just acted impulsively of her own accord?
Jaime blinks and stares at Daemon. Littlefinger actually narrows his eyes angrily at the insult. His suspicions were confirmed. The whoremonger was after Cat. Normally he'd let the man have her, but Ned was fond of the shrew, so his hands were tied. Still, he wasn't about to throw himself on his sword for Catelyn Stark. Now he has the Kingslayer's attention. Daemon spins the dagger through his fingers.
Dear old Cat.
Yeah, so with this bit, he is just doing some just kind of utilizing the fact that he's fairly, like, he just utilizing his distaste for Catelyn as a weapon, I guess you could say. And he's just saying, hey, couldn't she have just interacted in a stupid way on her own? And just kind of utilizing the fact that he doesn't like Cat to get himself out of this really bad situation. And we also kind of get his unfiltered thoughts where he's just thinking of Catelyn Stark as a shrew, which I think is very funny. Because he totally would think of Catelyn Stark as a shrew and think of her as the red bitch. And for whatever reason, people were just laughing their butts off at this, which I'm very pleased about, because it's kind of like, it is a little bit chauvinistic. I'm totally happy to admit that. But Daemon's kind of a chauvinistic asshole in a lot of ways.
Clearly insane from having her son crippled in the attempt on his life, likely didn't think about the consequences of her actions. She has no love for me, nor I for her. I imagine that she's in Riverrun or the Vale. You should probably start riding for either of those locations. I should take you with me. My father has some small affection for me. The Red Bitch has none. If you threaten to kill me, she'll just open your brother's throat to provoke you to murder. As I said, she's not a rational person. Probably thinks you had something to do with trying to kill my brother.
Jamie's face twitches and Daemon's ears prick up slightly. He did know.
You didn't have something to do with it, did you, Kingslayer? I don't know what you're talking about, boy. Of course, forgive me. I do like to be thorough. What if you take your men and ride to where they might actually achieve something?
For a long moment, Jamie glares at Daemon. Then he turns his men and rides off. Daemon slowly breathes out, then glances at Baelish, who had a tight smile on his face. Yes, he definitely wanted to tumble Lady Stark. Stupid man, honestly. Daemon would have preferred Ray Royce. Never believed he'd ever think that. Distasteful thought. All along the ride back.
Yeah, so with that one, it was very much just, oh, I found somebody I dislike more than Ray Royce. Ugh. I feel the need to wash my mouth out. And he just had as that realization. I also I had a thought about Daemon actually having a sword fight with Jaime, and I wanted to kind of do that, but I never got the chance to. But it would have been cool to have the Rogue Prince and the Kingslayer going up against each other, since Daemon was, even though he doesn't have like a whole lot of fights on his resume, he's one of the preeminent warriors of his era, and was at war for many, many years, and was able to get firsthand battle experience for quite a long time in pretty much constant war. Whereas Jaime hasn't necessarily had that. He's got raw talent, but Daemon has a lot of experience. But I decided, you know what, I'll just have Daemon get out of this with his wits rather than with his sword. And I just thought, okay, that's probably a better way of kind of getting out of it. And it also provides some funny things where he's just Littlefinger's like, he insulted my lady, and Daemon's like, oh, you just revealed yourself in a way that was very, very foolish.
At the Red Keep, Daemon plans his next steps. Based on the information he had about Lord Tywin, the man was a thin-skinned, easily provoked man, very similar to Aemon in a way. With the knowledge that Cat had taken his son, he would act violently. That would leave an opening in the Westerlands. He could exploit that. All he had to do was tell the Dothraki a little white lie and to make them think Daenerys was in Casterly Rock to weaken the old lion. Otto had done something similar with the Triarchy. He needed to have a very long conversation with Varys and Illyrio. Out of the two of them, Illyrio proves the least resistant to torture and breaks quickly. Varys takes some rather creative methods to force him to divulge his secrets, but finally he gives up where his ledgers of agents are stashed within the tunnels. Once Daemon has both, he sends a message through Illyrio's messengers to the Call, telling him that the princess has been taken by the Lannisters so they can marry her to Tommen and neutralize her claim. With the Call and the old lion set on a collision course, Daemon decides to tell Ned his findings. Ned is shocked to hear about Jaime almost abducting him, and even more so about Jaime likely being involved in crippling Bran. He seemed nonplussed about Bara. When Daemon asks about everything else Jon Arryn had, Ned tells Daemon that his mentor had been looking through genealogies. At that point, everything becomes clear. The blonde princes and princess, the black-haired bastards. It was just like Rhaenyra.
You need to leave soon. What do you mean? What have you figured out? Our beloved queen has been coupling our oh-so-competent king. Who with? Doesn't really matter. But it's clear they're not his, considering all his bastards look like him. Besides, the Dothraki are likely to come calling, and I'd rather not have Arya and Sansa caught up in the mix, even if Sansa's no better than her mother. You really need to watch your mouth about my wife. I heard about what you said from Jory. That was necessary to get out of the sticky situation he created for me. My friend, you need to leave. Don't tell anyone. If you do, I will be forced to simply kill the queen. You wouldn't. I would have the death of a child while his mother watched. Killing a grown woman who's obstructing my plans and who poses a danger to people I have some regard for, like you and Sansa, or actively care for, like Arya, is nothing. I thought I could raise this delusion of being Daemon Targaryen out of you. It seems as though you are all of his worst characteristics. Oh, my friend, I am Daemon Targaryen.
If you warn Cersei, she will not take it lying down. Just leave, go to the Vale, have your wife release Tyrion, and let the Dothraki smash into Tywin in an attempt to get Daenerys back. Wait, what have you done? What was necessary, Ned? I just let the Carl know that his stolen bride is in Casterly Rock. This is the best place to land and ride toward Golden Tooth, and thence to Casterly Rock. This means that while Tywin is off tangling with the Tullys, the Screamers hit his lands and force him to come back. They'll probably die, and will remove our most dangerous opposition, and provide a great deal of goodwill from the Dornish, who I am already aligned with.
But the children.
Grab them in the night and ship them to the Free Cities along with their promiscuous mother if you're so worried about them. I'll even take care of that for you if you find that distasteful.
Why are you like this?
Because I want my wife to sit on the Iron Throne as Rhaenyra should have. Last time I battled all my enemies at once. This time I'm going to make them fight each other and kill whoever's left. And then I shall build a new Valyria here in Westeros, as should have been and was always meant to be.
I'll leave, but Robert must be warned.
Daemon shrugs, then bows.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things going on with that conversation the bit before, where functionally his strategy is he knows he can't really win in an outright fight. There's also the element of he has a golden opportunity to get rid of most of his adversaries by having them fight each other. Because there was somebody who was commenting Drogo wouldn't bring his Khalasar across. And perhaps, but my thought was that he would have some measure of like pride, because if somebody steals his wife, that's an indicator of weakness, and he would have to answer that, because that's not a good look. That's a pride look. That's a blow to his pride. And then so Daemon would be like, all right, let's just have my two biggest opponents, Tywin and Drogo, go up against each other and kill each other. Oh yeah, he conveniently forgets it, or maybe that's part of its charm that he actually is fine with that bit. And we also have Ned and Daemon kind of going up against each other, and Ned saying, "Hey, quit talking disrespectfully about my wife," and he's like, "I don't care." Because Daemon wouldn't care. He would just kind of say whatever he wants because he has no filter and he's a bit of an asshole. And he just says whatever he wants, including saying really chauvinistic stuff. And ultimately what we have here is Daemon would not like Sansa. I don't think that Daemon would like Sansa, mainly because Sansa is kind of like Cat in a lot of ways, where Cat would see where Sansa doesn't like bastards and Daemon is still a bastard, so he would kind of see, oh, you don't like me either? I don't like you. But he probably wouldn't torture her or mock her like he does Cat, because he wouldn't see it as entertaining. She would just probably run off crying, because I think that Sansa, if Daemon actually tried to tease her and torment her in a similar way to did Cat, she would run off crying, because I don't know if anybody has done that, especially since even if we go with the final published work, he's very different. Like he's a pedophile. He doesn't really do much in the way of, he does a number of impressive things, but he isn't as competent or a bad boy as they seem to think. But yeah.
Departs.
Yeah.
Using the spider's ledgers, he sends instructions to his newfound agents to get Sansa and Arya free in the event of Ned doing something ill-considered. Once he is sure Tywin is gone, Daemon heads out to Dorne to have them prepare for war, and finally takes his red dragon Caraxes into the air as Daenerys takes her silver Azriel to the sky. Using Varys' ledgers of the Targaryen loyalists in the Reach, Daemon flies across from the Arbor to Horn Hill. Soon he had an army and a fleet under his command. Covered by the dragons, a force of Dornish and Reachmen sail into the Westerlands. Rather than face dragon fire with only a small garrison, with Tywin gone to the Riverlands, the Rock surrenders. When the Dothraki arrive, they make a beeline for Casterly Rock, bypassing the Golden Tooth and ravaging the Westerlands. After Tywin hears about the Screamers assaulting his lands, he turns to fight them. All along the way, the angry River Lords raid along his lines and make his life hell. Slowing him down as Drogo burns his way toward Casterly Rock. When the Old Lion finally meets the Cal in open battle, both sides are badly ravaged by the attack. Finally, Tywin manages to defeat the Dothraki and send them running back to the Golden Tooth. Mauled by the attack, Tywin retreats back to the rock. When he arrives, the Old Lion finds that the three-headed dragon flies over the castle.
What is going on here? Some of the Dothraki prisoners talked about Daenerys Targaryen being in Casterly Rock. Perhaps the rumors had more truth. How on earth did they get into the rock?
A roar from the top of the castle announces the sound of the dragons as they take off from where they'd been hiding behind the castle. Tywin's already depleted forces break and run, leaving the Old Lion to be consumed in dragonfire. When Robert hears of the Targaryens taking the rock, he immediately rallies.
This was abrupt, but I was like, we love you too. I love that. But with this, we just wanted to have, I just wanted to have the, I had to wrap it up, and I wanted to have a final confrontation between Daemon and Robert, because I thought, yeah, I gotta have him talk to him and say, hey, hi, I beat you. You didn't even know it. And just kind of have you were laughing at me the whole time. It's like, oh yes, you're so easy. You bought everything.
The Stormlands and sends out ravens. Unfortunately for the king, with the Reach, Dorne, and the Westerland armies either under the dragons or destroyed, the other kingdoms decide to declare neutrality in this war. Like his ancestor Argilac Durrandon, Robert marches toward the Westerlands. Rather than attack, the dragons land atop the walls of Deepden and roar toward the Stormlanders. Seeing that he doesn't have many options, Robert calls for a parley. When he sees Ned's son atop the dragon and Daenerys on the other, Robert starts sputtering.
You fucking bastard! You were laughing at me the whole time! Oh yes, Robert. The whole situation was incredibly amusing. You bought everything I said without question. Who are you, really? The dragon seed, probably. Not really important for anything other than I can ride a dragon. My wife's claim is the important one. House Targaryen will return to the Iron Throne, where it belongs, and you shall go back to Storm's End and enjoy an unearned reprieve from your lackluster efforts in ruling the realm, or your spectacular efforts to misrule the realm. Take your pick.
I do hope you enjoy it. You get to live with the knowledge that you were as bad as Aegon the Unworthy. Do you think he'll die of the pox, Daemon?
You're a pair of filthy dragon spawn. Do you even like ruling? Why not just go back to being a Lord Paramount? Oh, and you should probably have your marriage annulled. Your wife has been rather spectacularly unfaithful to you. What the hell are you talking about? Oh, my father didn't tell you. She's fucking her brother. You have no legitimate children, so the best option for you is to annul the marriage and then abdicate your throne to Daenerys. Good news, you can marry someone who's more suited to your needs. Probably a Dornish woman. Wouldn't that be pleasant? Your clever tongue is beginning to irritate me, bastard. I aim to misbehave. My wife loves...
We expect this wouldn't end well. This is far worse. Yeah, kind of. But yeah, that's it's pretty bad. Yeah, there's a lot of and yeah. And ultimately we just have the little bit of he's mocking Robert. Like he just can't help himself. He has to do it. And he ultimately is able to just say, hey, yeah, you're a crappy king. Admittedly, Daemon's probably going to be just as bad. He's just going to be more active in his evil than Robert is. And I did like kind of having Daenerys kind of absorb some of Daemon's personality, where she's just making fun of Robert too and wondering if he's going to die of the pox like Aegon the Unworthy did. Which honestly, if Robert didn't get killed by the boar, he probably would die of the pox. And I had to include the
wouldn't that be pleasant? Your clever tongue.
Yeah, he would be very irritated by Daemon.
It's beginning to irritate me, bastard. I aim to misbehave. My wife loves it. Other people, including Ned, not so much. So, Robert, are you going to give up the throne you hate so you can eat, drink, and whore yourself into an early grave? Or are you going to take the early grave by dragonfire?
Robert grimaces. The bastard had him. If he fought, he died. And really, he didn't want to end like that. At least he would live. At least he didn't have to be forced to stay with Cersei anymore. Robert Baratheon bends the knee. When Daenerys is crowned queen, Daemon places the crown on her head just as he had for Rhaenyra. Her first act is to name him Hand of the Queen, which he graciously accepts. Now that he's in control, Daemon personally kills Littlefinger, Varys, and Illyrio and replaces the rest of the small council with his allies. Soon after the coronation, Daenerys is found to be pregnant again. Using his knowledge from Illyrio, Daemon Daemon returns to Pentos and retrieves the remaining dragon eggs so that when their next child is born, they will hatch. Stannis attempts to hold Dragonstone, but is forced to surrender to avoid being burned. He and Renly are held in King's Landing, though Renly finds it easier to bear since Loras acts as the Tyrell's representatives. Not wanting to leave a potential claimant out there, Daemon invites Aegon to the Seven Kingdoms, though he makes sure to secure him a worthy match with Arianna Martell and sends the boy to Dorne, where Oberyn can watch him. Daemon settles into his rooms in the Tower of the Hand, remembering how long he thirsted for this position in his last life. Spinning Viserys' knife through his fingers, Daemon looks out the window at his city. He was king now in every way that mattered. No Hightower spawn to steal the throne, no volatile queen to turn the populace against her, and no filthy dissidents to try killing the dragons.
I won.
That's our theory.
Yeah, I wanted this to kind of have a really solid ending where Daemon is in the Tower of the Hand. He is effectively king. He has all the power, and he just says, I won. I had considered putting it as I won, I have won again, Otto Hightower. But then I was like, no, just him saying I won is all that he needs to say. And functionally now we just have functionally we have a tyrant king on the throne where he is basically creating dictatorial control. He grabs Aegon, puts him in Dorne where nobody will worry about him, and he just takes both of the Baratheon brothers. Yeah, probably. But yeah, that's the two approaches. The main thing was Aegon the Conqueror, he acts as a mentor, but with Daemon Targaryen, he basically kills Jon in the cradle and basically is the driver's seat. So they're both perfectly valid approaches, but they were two approaches for the same concept that I decided to experiment with. I'm interested to see which it seems as though the Daemon one got a lot of positive feedback and got like 1,300 comments, which might be some kind of record, or might be a fairly high record. But I'm very, 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 very happy with how both of these turned out. They're good for different reasons, but with Daemon, I think that people like that he just gets into the plot really quick and is able to just roll through the series and is highly competent. And I think that's one of the main things that people liked about it. But Jon and Aegon, that had its own bits and pieces of that had its own appeal, where we have these two minds fighting each other, and there were people that said they wanted the Jon and Aegon deal, but I think I'll kind of alternate depending. But I gotta get going. I will see you guys later. Bye.